It worked this time! Yay! Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Lee, and I'm streaming on behalf of All on the Table, which is run by Trans Sister Games. I'm going the other way, so my pronouns are him, but I am part of the system, and they're all awesome. And yes, so All on the Table, we do tabletop RPGs with a focus on trans and intersex creators. And trans, like with the little plus, with the little asterisk, like they did in the 2010s, where they meant this big umbrella of, which I missed the asterisk. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling. Hi and welcome. Hopefully Jen thinks my introduction is good. Anyway, Jen Giggle's our director, and she's just awesome. I don't know if she's like officially at the top, but she is very, very cool, and is the one who proposed this review show. So, sorry, I'm a little bit of a mess. I want to make sure I go to the right spot so I can check on the chat, because I am doing via restream, so it is yes, this one. Haha, it is live. Okay, good. So I just want to be able to see chat, and welcome everyone. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on chat. If you say stuff in chat, I might not be able to see you. Just be aware of that. Hello and welcome. So, because Trans Sister Games is so awesome, Cobalt Press gave us a special early review copy of this thing called RiverBank that they just put out. I believe that is a picture of it on our overlay, but and here, if you can see to this side, I keep it on the opposite side today. I'm on the other side of the screen usually, but yes, this side is a PDF of, no, sorry, a PDF of the book that we got as a special review copy, and, okay, so it's a PDF. This is the cover, that we got. Sorry, waiting for it to come up. So it's the way I have it set up here is to make it as best to read the text, so you don't get a full effect of action. So it's the way I have it set up here for a sec. To make it I might zoom in a little bit, but I think if I do this, you should be able to see it better. Yeah, actually, I can do that. And then briefly, ready for some zooming. There, that's the whole cover. Just how, you know, get a little bigger so you can see it better. But yeah, that's the cover of this little. It's a story. You play as a little animal. It's a lot of fun, and so I've been reading over it a little bit, but those of you who are more familiar with my work, know that I generally, no, sorry. What I do is I kind of put up the, whatever TTRPG of the day is. In this case, on the stream, and then we sort of bop around. I read out loud, I tell you what I'm thinking about it, kind of a very informal thing. So today, I'm doing that for on the table. About it, kind of very so that's about right. I do want to add. So that's about right. I do want to add. So the game is by Cobalt Press. So the game is by Cobalt Press. Yes. There we go. So the game is by Cobalt Press, and they actually sent us a release, a little press release. Yes. Here we go, little press release. Cobalt Press invites you to settle in for a spot of tea, a touch of poetry, and perhaps a hint of calamity. The release of its RiverBank RPG, now available through Cobalt Press Store and local game retailers everywhere. I guess it's coming out. I think we had to wait till yesterday to do it, so I think it's going to come out. The release of its RiverBank RPG, now available through Cobalt Press Store and local game retailers everywhere. I will poke around and tell you if I can. I think we had to wait till yesterday to do it, so I think but yes. Now, Cobalt Press. So I will check the Cobalt Press website, I guess, and see if it's officially released to publish yet, but we got our hands on a pre-play early copy to show you guys how cool it is, which Okay, so it was written and designed by Hugo and Nebula Award-winning author Kij Johnson. Kij Johnson. Probably should. Written and designed by Hugo and illustrated by Kathleen Jennings, who made the gorgeous cover art we just saw. Invites players to inhabit an intelligent society of elegantly dressed animals living among a slow-moving river. Here, adventure is as likely to start at a tea party as it is on a treacherous woodland road. Mistakes are every bit as dire when uninvited relatives come to call. Scenarios on the riverbank don't involve dragons or undead armies, said designer. Mistakes are every bit as dire when uninvited relatives come to call. I am going to see if I can't figure out. Fitz Johnson. The situation gets you into are much closer to home. Adventures are everywhere, and you never know what's going to trigger one or how it's going to play out. Sometimes things go exactly right, but don't count on it. So it's a little bit of a cozy thing. Never know what's going to trigger one or how it's going to play out. Sometimes things go exactly right, but don't count. So it's a little she. Okay, so she her pronouns and writer of fantasy, faculty member of View Kansas, and Kij. Okay, so I think that's a je. And writer of fantasy, faculty member of View Kansas, and Kij. Okay, so I think that's a je. And writer of fantasy, Kansas. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Kij. Okay, it's Kij. So, A, it's Kij Johnson, and B, she's awesome. Hi, Jen. Yes. I am. Oh, I'm echoing. Give me a second to see if I can't fix that. Awesome. Hi, Jen. Thank you for calling it out. Yes. Oh, I know why. Hang on. I'm echoing. I know why. There. That should fix the echo. Checking. You guys are. Am I echoing now? No? Alright, hopefully I'm not echoing. Yay, excellent. I do know how to stream. Usually I don't. I have it up on the stream manager where it's auto muted, but today I don't have access to the stream manager because I'm streaming on AOTT instead of on my own channel. Because Transistor Games got a super extra cool review copy of this new book, and it's fun stuff. So that's what the so Kij Johnson wrote this book. I wanted to make sure I pronounced her name correctly and actually check the pronouns too. Let's see. So, storytelling role-playing game of friendship, folly, and furred society designed for 3 to 5 players, or optionally without a GM. Ooh, there's GM-free options. Animals who live in a world of civility, refinement, and gentle absurdity, and who, despite their best intentions, often stumble into deliciously disastrous situations. Okay, so guided by the balance between animality and poetry, the primal instincts of fur and fang, and the cultivated sensibilities of tea and verse. Too much of either, and one's perfectly composed life may come gloriously undone. Gameplay flows through delightful social encounters, emotional twists, and haphazardry cards. Charming, unpredictable tools for introducing chaos at the worst and best possible moment. Ooh, that sounds fun. An irate flatmate burns scones or scuffle over the best table at the fete may turn a polite afternoon into a full-blown comedy of manners. So it's kind of like Importance of Being Earnest style farce. Or not farce exactly, but it's that kind of highly social comedy sort of vibe. Between such escapades, player recount their between times, the quiet interludes where daily life continues, friendships deepen, and the next misadventure begins to brew. Okay, so downtime, let's see. Rulebook is now beautifully illustrated hardcover edition with a foil stamped. Ooh, they have fancy editions. Complete with cloth cover and ribbon bookmark. Add a dash of polish to your game shelf so you can get really fancy copies. Gather friends, pour a proper cup of tea, and prepare to navigate the charming world of RiverBank. Oh, I should have made actual tea. I was busy doing Challenge Week, so I didn't do that. But where grace, gossip, and good manners are tools of true adventure. Available now at koboldpress.com and at select local game stores. For press inquiries, review copies, or interviews, please contact Stevenson. And I guess we got a review copy. Transistors Games got the review copy, and this is our Twitch channel. So, welcome on in, by the way. Alright. So, if we go... Let's see. Did I go... Ah, yes, I meant to do one thing before we got started on the review proper, though I don't know if it's quite essential. Yes. Well, but yes, so, I read through a little bit of it, which beforehand. Uh, Basically, what they said was, let's see if I can't bring up some of it for you. So that's that one. Yep. Okay, here we go. The way the all right, now I have to get this balance back up. Look at these illustrations, though. Kathleen Johnson, I think it was, who, that's pretty. All right, I just want to show off how pretty that is, because look at that. That's gorgeous art, and it's on the opposite side of the screen as usual, so I have to gesture differently. But look at that. That's just gorgeous. All right, sorry. I just wanted to admire the art for a minute. Hang on. Credits edited cover artist Kathleen Jennings, and there's a few others who did interior art. Erica Lindgren and Svenja Mush. Cartography by Damien Memoliti. So we're gonna get maps too. That's exciting. Open Design LLC. Cobalt Press is Open Design LLC, so that's Cobalt Press's business name. Just look at it's a lovely drawing of a teapot. And then you got all the other people involved. Okay. So table of contents should be yes. All right. Excellent. So they have a what is a role-playing game section, which is yes. Let's see. RiverBank is a cottagecore role-playing game designed for adults and adults to be, inspired by Wind in the Willows, by Kenneth Graham, and books of Beatrice Potter and other animal tales across history, as well as light fiction and children's literature of the Victorian and Edwardian eras and later. There's a footnote. For a list of sacred texts, anointed of old, see Appendix 1. There's a whole list of... yes. They have a whole list of sources. Civilized, anthropomorphized animal, character in an idealized countryside that resembles post-Edwardian England. There are motor cars, photography, and great houses, and you might wear spats. Overseen by your game master, you and your animal friends have parties, plans, and adventures, and get into all sorts of trouble your personalities dictate. Anything from ambiguously promising to run the stick fair, game booths, to hosting your troublesome nephew, from outfitting an all-animal expedition to the North Pole, or maybe just the head of the river, to stealing an aeroplane, perhaps accidentally. You may have interactions with the wide world and the human people so common there, visiting the village or even town. So town is London. Specific mentions that later. Let me see if I can't make this a little easier so you can read along. That should do it. Yes. Or even town. Traveling to the lakes or Bath. That's Bath, England. The seaside, lovely seaside village with all sorts of lovely things. Calling on a publisher when your very important book comes out. RiverBank is not heroic fantasy, except insofar as you may find yourself called to rescue a handkerchief that is fluttered into a bull's pasture, or distract an appalling relative as your friend slips out the back door. While characters certainly can start battle or climb a forbidden tower, RiverBank prioritizes entertaining minor trouble and social interactions over conventional combat or dramatic physical feats. So, basically, it's Tea Party gone wrong the game, which I think could be very fun, but it's definitely good to know what you're getting into ahead of time. Group conflicts are more likely to be darts matches than paw fights, and tea parties that decay into chaos occur more often than either. The only magic may be a sleight of paw tricks, if the character cares to attempt such things, or one of Madame Anthemia's not wholly convincing seances. Structurally, gameplay sessions can range from situational comedy and farce to light quests. The game mechanics are simple, fun, and flexible. Yes. Ooh. So, okay, so what is a role-playing game? Now, we don't have to linger on this section. This is one of my favorites. I just gotta keep it on the time, but we're fine. So role-playing, every time they do an RPG, they have to explain it in case this is the first RPG anyone's ever seen, which sometimes it is. Sometimes your first is a random one. Okay, I need to also put this so I can see chat. Yes. Hello. Yes. But that's fine. Okay. I just want to make sure I can see chat, so this will work. Perhaps you imagine one of the characters in the tale, or maybe you inserted new characters in it, especially if you couldn't readily relate to existing ones. or you took the best parts of all the best stories and put them together into worlds you wanted to live and play in, and then you did precisely that, perhaps in daydreams or by writing things down. If you were very lucky, you talked to your siblings, friends, or even an amicable adult and pretending alongside you. There you go. And there you were, playing Hobbit, or an explorer, or a starship captain, or a spy. That's how it started anyway, long, long ago. A tabletop role-playing game is a non-computer game in which a group of people take on the roles of characters in a fictional world and collaborate to build adventures. The players are responsible for describing or acting out the actions and interactions of their roles, called characters. A game master, the impresario, overseeing the experience, manages the game's rules and prepares the settings and situations the players encounter, including maps and descriptions of people, places, and things. People, places, things, and events. The Game Master also plays as all non-player characters, NPCs, the characters meet. The story you develop is a collaboration. The Game Master's preparations, inventions, and oversight, plus the characters' actions and interactions, plus the original writer's decisions about mechanics, the world, and the adventure. You can think of role-playing as a sort of improvisational theater where your audience is each other and everyone is just there to have fun. Or you can think of it as an adult make-believe. Both work, honestly. Role-playing games can take place in any sort of world, past, present, future, and hypothetical, but the best known are rooted in heroic fantasy, D&D, Tales of Valiant, or science fiction space opera, Star Wars, Starfinder, and the Warhammer games, and Starfinder, the Warhammer games cross into both categories. Some are set in worlds that look a lot like ours, but with some magical or supernatural element, Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade. RiverBank takes place in a hypothetical historical setting with talking animals. It focuses on charm and the sort of mild chaos that make so many light novels and children's books entertaining. A rural neighborhood in the mythologized version of England's western Cotswolds region along the bank of a beautiful river that might or might not be the Thames. These are all human terms for things, by the way, and animals mostly don't use them. Instead, the nearest human village is the village, the river is the river, capital R, and London is usually just called town. RiverBank is set in the final flourishing of post-Victorian Edwardian life, the period that maps, loosely to the years 1911 to 1913. In the real world, this time, and every time, including our own, is filled with inequities and tragedy, and everyone who writes children's literature, comedy, romance, or adventure tales must come to terms with this disjunct between the world as it is/was and the fictional world. RiverBank is cottagecore with semi-robust historicity. That was a new word. I learned it last night when I was talking to a friend about how I was going to do this. And it's look and feel, but if the sufferings and suffragists and anarchists of our past are part of the animal's world, they are treated with a light hand, as P.G. Wodehouse or Jerome K. Jerome might do. Joachim Jerome was a comic writer a few decades before RiverBank's time, best known for the three men in a boat, to say nothing of the dog. At one point, his work was referred to, again, in an actual way, by a grown-up and everything, as vilely stupid. Okay, then. Yes, the anthropomorphized animals of the RiverBank live scattered for a mile or two on either side of the river, in rolling landscape of fields, commons, small woodlands, and near a few human habitations. The animals mostly ignore. Generally belong to low to middling gentry, a few struggling with a bit, while others quite comfortable, and their homes reflect their status as well as their tastes and personal preferences. Some animals live in underground burrows, some in homes that lie partly above ground and partly below. Others live in conventional structures such as cottages, houses, and manors, scaled to their size. Bats, dove, owls, and herons often have stilt houses with stairs or tree houses with rope ladders, so friends can visit them. Less than a mile southeast lies the Village, a community of about 100 humans with several shops, a church with a steeple, and a train station where you can catch the train to town in one direction, or the hills in the other. The village also offers the nearest bridge across the river for those uncomfortable with boats. Boat traffic up to the village includes long, narrow canal boats, occasionally day tripper tour boats from downstream, and very small freight carriers, some with masts and sails, where they use when the river widens. But all of this ends at the village lock. Upstream, and for the most part, the RiverBank neighborhood, humans and animal boat traffic remains local. Rowing boats of various sorts, punts, and very small sailboats that one can row, and even motor launch or two. Animal boats are smaller than the comparable human vessels, but the two generally get along in the water. Okay. So we have boats. Boats are fun. Do not live in a village the way humans do. Community life revolves around the postal service and stores, which fill a string of charmingly rickety cottages in a rambling half-circle around the base of a huge chestnut tree. Here, animals can send and receive telegrams and post their letters by the same via the same royal mail that the humans use. Animals can also purchase everything from boot buttons to pruning snoots. Okay, what is a pruning snoot? A pruning snoot is presumably a snoot designed specifically for pruning. The author did not make this up, but someone else did. Stella Gibbons, author of Cold Comfort Farm. Okay, interesting. All scaled for size, or at least usable by them. All scaled for their size. The Postal Service/stores is social heart of the area, and gregarious animals stop by on the thinnest of excuses, purportedly for postage stamps or condensed milk, but in fact for a chance of a nice gossip. So, okay. Other important animal businesses dot the RiverBank, most notably Madame Sensonet's tea shop, and a tavern, the Nose and Tail. Beyond these, the animals may use many pleasant shared spaces for this and that. Stick Green Parliament Hill and its medieval tower, the old Roman road, a cricket pitch, and so forth. Pleasant walks and rights of way, many seldom used for or too small for humans, thread through the region. While animals do use the train when they need to go long distances, other times they simply ramble, in no hurry, taking days or even weeks to get to their destination. They stay in inns, sometimes even human inns, or with hospitable animals they meet along the road, or bed down each pleasant night in comfortable little nests they make for themselves. One can find other animal neighborhoods across England. Chapter 4 briefly describes a few of them. The forest, much larger, very old forest to the northeast. It's royal land, so humans are almost never there. Oh, it is royal land. The hills, the downs to the south and southwest, mostly grass and sheep covered with coppices of trees. Copses. I'm gonna go with copses because I think that's, I don't know if that's this word, but that does mean the same. I will. All right, we're gonna have a vocabulary break very quick, but many riverbank animals have relatives from here. Wildwood, a woodland adjacent to the riverbank with a ruined Roman villa. So they share many spaces with humans, including nearby towns on market day, holiday destinations such as the shore, the lakes, and Bath, and London, known to all and sundry simply as town. The village and town are described in Chapter 4. Animals' world interweaves with the human world of the time. Metilated roads shared by horse carts and motor cars, semi-detached villas, and stately homes lit by a jumble of paraffin lamps, candles, electric lights, and gas jets. It's an exciting time technologically, and this quasi-historical foundation can supply many wonderful moments. It's also an interesting time artistically, with photography, sentimental realism, impressionism, art nouveau, and various brand new idioms all jostling for attention. The animals are as interested in the wider world as the game master and players choose to make them. Animals move between their own animal-sized world and much larger human world, but because it has always been this way, the larger world often offers adaptations of one sort or another. Some hotels in town, for instance, the Rackham Hotel, have animal-sized suites, although animals seem more likely to stay at their clubs, such as the Junior Blue Bottle for amphibians, or the Fauna for animals of the female persuasion. An animal may visit human medical specialists, purchase animal-sized bonnets from a human milliner, or spend the day in the reading room at the British Library if they're bookish. Animals' experience the passage through the human world is a little like the Hobbit's experience of Bree in Lord of the Rings, minus the terror of the Dark Riders. So just, you're kind of living in a world where everything's scaled up, but you, they've made adaptations for you, basically. Okay, coppices, we're doing well. Thicket, okay, let's see. Plural form of coppice. Oh yes, let's go Merriam-Webster. A forest originating mainly from shoots, or root suckers rather than seed. Okay, so then the verb form is to cut back as to regrow in the form of a coppice. To form a coppice, specifically of tree. So it's a forest originating mainly from shoots or root suckers rather than seed. So it's kind of the regrowth forest after it's been logged, and then it kind of regrows, I think, is how that's described. We learned a new word today. Yay, vocabulary. Okay. It's fun to check that. Okay. Alright. Yes. Appendix 1, yes. If you've played other role-playing games, some of RiverBank's rules and elements, the mechanics of the game will feel familiar. Others will be new, designed to support the major themes of the game, the comic chaos, familiar in farces and sitcoms. Here are a few ways RiverBanks may feel different. Ooh, They have a whole intro section of why it's different than other games. I like this. Which are detailed in Chapter 2. Okay. Characters can succeed at most realistic actions if the players are willing to take the chance that they may make things worse in other, sometimes spectacular ways. The mechanics of performing deeds are simple and familiar. The game master creates a target number, the players respond with a challenge number that includes a die roll. If you, the player, generate a result that is the same or larger than the target number, you succeed. If your challenge number is smaller than the target number, you have 3 options. You can accept the failure, which triggers failure side effects. You might succeed by switching the stat used to build your character number to the pother stat, which triggers summoning pother side effects. Ooh, there's a whole separate side effects table if you're like, no, I'm going to succeed. But then you kind of do it. You can succeed by buying animality or poetry points, rolling dice, and moving along the animality poetry range. This choice may change your stats or behavior, or even drop you into absolute poetry or absolute animality. This decision can be anything but simple. Okay, so you have some fun little options of succeed at a cost, which I think is like, all right, so you can accept the failure or you can push to succeed, but if you push, there are consequences. I think Call of Cthulhu has similar ones. The consequences here, though, are probably going to be not as dire, I would imagine. Sorry, hang on. Okay. Sorry about that. There's random use of stats and summoning pother. RiverBank uses only 4 character stats, and they don't operate quite the way they do in other games. The stats, charm, intrepidity, pother, and sense, chips for short, are part of how you build a challenge number. You determine which stat to use randomly with a die roll. The stat you build on may affect the role-playing aspect of how a deed is done. It does affect the failure side effects and the deeds involving non-player characters, known as faux deeds. Interesting. Yes, you may replace the challenge stat with your pother stat if it's higher. This is known as summoning pother, which generates its own trouble. I don't know if it's pother or pother, and I am curious. I'm sure it's described later. So, you may think of animalities referring to one's baser instincts or animal nature, while poetry, you may say, invokes one's aesthetic impulses and creative urges. Characters embody these 2 forces in different amounts at different times. The animality poetry range is a slider you move along when you use A or P points in the game. You start at the center point 0 and move toward poetry or up toward poetry or down toward animality. As you move away from your center point, your stats suffer. You start to behave strangely. During a game, characters may move back and forth along the range and even fall off the end into absolute animality, where you might shuck off your clothing and start building a nest, or absolute poetry, where you might drop everything and start making art. Absolute animality or poetry are not permanent states, but they can prove inconvenient when your friends are trying to get something important done. Yes. Haphazardry. Adventures, or situations, the character encounter will evolve and become more complicated across the game session, based in part on the player's and game master's decisions. But whatever else may be happening, the characters get derailed at arbitrary intervals when the haphazardry timer goes off, usually every half hour. Ooh, so you set a timer out of game, and every time it dings, you have to... That's kind of fun. A little bit diabolical. Depending on the session, I might house rule it out, but that sounds kind of cool. I like this. Sorry, this is the first time I'm reading any of this, too, by the way. This is how I do reviews. I just kind of, hey, let's look at this, and then I read a little bit about the setting before, which is why I know how to pronounce historicity, but this is all new and cool. And so you kind of get an honest thoughts on the game, which is kind of cool, I think. Let's see. Haphazardry. Let's see. So it's a timer. Drawing a haphazardry card at this point adds another problem to the mix, anything from a lost pet to everyone getting hungry. I wonder if they probably have... Okay, each RiverBank session starts with between times, where players and game master sketch out how the character spent the days, weeks, or seasons since the last game session. RiverBank is meant to be a cozy place where, for all the fluster and fuss brought on by a situation, animals mostly just enjoy their lives, going on sledding parties and walking their pets, learning French cookery and listening to the first cuckoo of spring. The players share their characters' interim intentions and actions during the between times section of gameplay and learn a few things they didn't know, determined by the game master in drawing between times cards. Okay, so everyone starts, well, how did we spend the downtime between the sessions? So I guess So I would think that, okay, so each session then, you would have to have a complete arc of a situation for the session, and then at the end of the session, like, well, between times, and then it starts either the next day or 3 days later, and then what did you do between them? Okay. I wonder if, yeah, and as a GM, I would say, I would add that kind of cliffhanger, like, oh, here's an invitation, in 3 weeks you're going here, and then the between times would be defined by 3 weeks. I guess, yeah, as the GM, you'd probably set how long between times was. Okay. This is how, this is me speculating. But let's see. What do we need to play? Designed to be played by one game master and up to 5 players, though alternate rules for playing without game master appear in Chapter 5. As a player, you need a few things to play. A character sheet, to keep track of details for your character, strengths and weaknesses, friends and homes, favorite things, even appalling relatives. Find a blank character sheet copy in Appendix 4. Copy of the animality poetry range, the scale where you keep track of how normal you are, see Appendix 4, and a marker to represent your current position. I suppose you could probably keep track of that on pencil and paper too, rather than have like a slider. But the slider probably makes it easier, I would imagine. What else? Assorted polyhedral dice. So D4, D6, D8, D10. When it's time for you to roll one 6-sided die, the rules will invite you to roll 1d6. Yes. 4 Animalian poetry dice. Special 12-sided dice that generate numbers between 1 and 3. If you don't have a special AP dice, just use D4s and treat the 4 as a 0, generating a number between 0 and 3. A D4 used in this way is called the D4 minus 1. Okay, so it's D4 minus 1. Wait a second, if it's D4 minus 1, then you would treat a 1 as a 0 and the 4 as a 3. I guess it doesn't necessarily matter. You just have to declare ahead of time, so you can't fudge it if you get a 4 or something. You have to declare ahead of time whether you're going to do D4 minus 1 or the 1, 2, 3, and 4 is 0. But, okay. So D4 minus, you can use D4 minus 1 if you don't have any animal poetry dice. So they make fancy D12s, but you can use, there's a workaround, which makes sense. Like, if you're going to have specialized dice, having workarounds is good because, yeah. Okay, here's that. What else? Okay, access to the book, way to take notes. Pencil and paper. Let's see. Chapter 4. Game Master. Okay, copies of the player's character sheets. Oh, they have the GM have copies of the character sheets. That's not bad, actually. Having access to player character sheets is nice. I know some GMs don't. I've run games where I don't. It's kind of helpful, and then you don't have to ask your players what's on their character sheet every once in a while. Yeah, it is nice to have copies, I would say. Timer, for the haphazard timer. Between times, card deck, see Appendix 2. So I guess you'd either, I don't know, put them all on a roll table. Between times card deck and a haphazard card deck. I guess you could either put them on a table and roll, or I think they're probably at print. If you have a PDF, you can run a print copy, and I guess you can probably get them separately from Cobalt Press, I would imagine. So, full set of polyhedral dice. D4, D6, D8, D10, D20, and a percentiles. When the rules ask you to roll D% to generate a number between 1 and 100, you roll your D10 and use the D percentile and the D% dice together. The D% results as 10-digit number, and the D10 results in the 1 digit. And then double zeros is 100. Yes. Way to take notes, sketch maps, and make plans, and this book. So, yes. Very exciting stuff. Okay, so then the next one is... Alright, this is a sort of overview, kind of tables of context. Introduction, first look at the game, and RiverBank. Subsequent chapters, story below. Expound on the depths, everything you mentioned here. Okay. Chapter 1 is character creation. Peculiarities, knacks, and insufficiencies. Strengths and weaknesses. Finally, we learn how to round out your character, including home and possessions, pets, appalling relatives, other family, additional details. What are you doing? The rules. Describes the order of play in the game session, then goes into detail about deeds, including target and challenge numbers, deed categories, side effects, summoning pother, and animal poetry range, foes, and collaborative deeds. Chapter 3. Who is that? NPC animals, humans, and ordinary animals give stats and information about non-player character denizens of the riverbank and the village. Includes all the types of creatures you might encounter, other animals, humans, and ordinary animals. Their associated location in boldface appear in Chapter 4. Where are you? Locations. It is a guide to the neighborhoods of Riverbank and nearby human village, including houses, shops, places of note. It presents other locations where animals live and play, the river, the wild wood, forest, the hills. Also introduces you to human-dominated locations, including town, i.e. London, describing how animals can use and move through human space. Locations associated non-player characters with names in bold appear in Chapter 3. So they basically, if you are in Chapter 4 and they see a name in bold, it's like, oh, you can figure out who they are by going back to Chapter 3. Okay, Chapter 5. What to do, how to run RiverBank. Turns attention to the main principles at work in the RiverBank game, including how to manage good roleplay experience in a game built around chaos. It offers advice for new game masters around the use of 2 card decks and tools to manage complications in the game. Other sections include a method for leading ad hoc sessions, yes, how to improvise, rules for casual gaming without a game master, and a description of extended game campaigns called RiverBank's Years. Ooh, okay. 6 is what is going on in RiverBank situations. Provides various situations, or adventure scenarios, that game masters can use as described or adapt as desired. They're detailed in different degrees, some designed with all the information used for new game masters, others presented more briefly to invite the game masters' customization and elaboration. And then they have appendices, the sacred text appointed of old, sources of reading inspiration, content for between times and haphazardly cards, and character sheet, an animal poetry range suitable for copying. And finally, this book includes a helpful index, reference sheets for players and game masters, and the RiverBank Environs map sheet. Okay, we have maps too. Other accessories for the RiverBank game, such as the official between time and haphazard decks, wood grain dice featuring AP dice, etc., are available separately but are not required to play. Yeah, they did. They explained how to get A and P, and they have copies of the cards you can either make copies of or something. Okay, and I think we have an ad. Okay, that's fine. Appreciate you putting up with the ads, because helps our channel with the revenue. Cool. Actually, though, it has a cool little thing where I'm still kind of... Stop it. Off to the side where the ad is. I don't know if they do that on all the streams, or... Because a lot of streams, they just completely covered up by ads. But... Okay. In any case, appreciate you watching through it. Let's go see what we want to do with this. Let's see. Oh, who is the I, anyway? Dear reader, from time to time I have things to say to you directly and and you may wonder who precisely is addressing you. Long ago, when the sun was still new and the moon had not yet been invented, I studied English history before 1066, which meant reading a lot of Latin and Old English. Since then, my research in history has taken me many places, including the Polar North in the 19th century, Heian and Kamakura, Japan, medieval Enlightenment, and post-Edwardian England. I have written novels and stories set in these places, as well as other worlds. I've also written for and edited tabletop role-playing games, collectible card games, comics, and graphic novels. My favorite tea is white-tipped oolong. Not a bad one, I will say. I hope you will enjoy spending a lot of time together. Your author, most sincerely, Kid Junction, Miss. Alright, so she does include, basically. Alright, so, I think animals and character creation. Yeah, this is going to be tricky. So, the way this is set up is, if I squish it, it's going to be hard for you to see. I guess we can squish a little. Let's do some squishing. Let's do some squishery and see if we can't make this about that size. Yeah, I think this is more for 2. You know what I could just do? We could just... There we go. It does cover up... Well, if I scooch it up a little. Let's see. There we go. Now we just have to worry about... not a little uncouth, but I think... Oh, what if I need this a little bigger, maybe? Oh, yeah, I could, yeah. No reason I have to not. It's always a balance, between, getting... Okay, I think there's that. That should give us a good Yes? Yes. Okay, let me know if this is a good setup. I am covering up of the stuff a little bit, but still. This overlay, by the way, is really pretty. I did not make it. It was Jen gave it to me. I don't know who drew it, but credit where credit is due. It's really good, and I didn't. I'm not going to claim credit for it. Um, um, uh, Also, if you see lhawk99 in chat, that's me. Let's see. Um, I think Jen is the one on the AOTT account right now, but she's also in chat as herself, so maybe someone else is. We have a couple producers. All of them are really cool. I worked with a few of them, and I don't know if things have shifted since I was last on the channel, which was quite a while ago. There's been some restructuring, and we're still here, still doing games. Let's see. Attending an afternoon tea is a delightful way to spend a day with friends in a RiverBank game. Let's see. In RiverBank, you and your friends play animals, anthropomorphic versions of ordinary animals that exist articulate, bipedal, intelligent, and reasonably well dressed. Animals with a capital A. The same, I think Wicked uses the same kind of nomenclature for that. This is a very long chapter, dear reader, but if this is your first role-playing game and it all looks quite overwhelming, fear not. The process of creating your character is quite simple. It feels a bit like shopping with a paw full of gift cards. We'll go through it together, and at the end you will have a charming animal friend. Animals, capital A, thrive somewhere in the gaps between ordinary animals and humans. They are no more than a foot or two tall and often different sizes than their ordinary animal often a different size than their ordinary animal counterparts, sometimes larger, sometimes smaller. In comparison to humans, think of them as baby or toddler sized, or as the size of a teddy bear to a small child. While a few of them have wings or can breathe underwater, animals are people in the same way humans are. They wear clothing and reside in charming cottages, cozy burrows, or treehouses with fireplaces and comfortable armchairs. They may like messing around in boats or writing poetry, or they may obsessively collect stamps or raise dahlias for the St. Aldwyn's Day Fete flower show. Some have jobs of one sort or another, and a few... Oh, fate. It's pronounced fate if you're British. The English, I should say, if you're English. English, capital E, as in England, not English as in the language they brought to the rest of the world through a complicated series of history that, yeah. But English isn't the people there. Oh, yes. A few are quite rich, some have jobs. Others receive allowance from an appalling relative at the terrible cost of being there at their beck and call. For economics and class, think of them as middle class to humble to middling gentry. This idealized English-ish countryside, animals have their own neighborhoods in the gaps between human villages and farms. Interactions between the two are uncommon and a bit bemused on both sides. Those situations may take the animals to the village or other human parts. RiverBank mostly takes place in the homes and shared spaces along the banks of the river, where humans may be seen on a daily basis, but usually at a distance. Animals and humans generally keep to themselves, though animals may go into the village to buy pipe cleaners or ribbons if their own shop runs out. They might even go into town, London, if a rabbit needs a dentist to file her teeth, or a toad becomes overwhelmed with sudden desire to purchase a motor car. How do animals buy their train tickets? How does a rabbit hold a reticule, carrying her money, a reticulo? A small handbag with a cord or braided handle, often crocheted or constructed using cardboard, fabric, and paint. They were periodic fads for making reticulous shaped like books, Gretchen urns, and other odd shapes. They resemble dice bags with fewer embroidered dragons and more gold retractable pencils. Okay. I'm loving the footnotes also. Let's see. How do animals... Oh, yes. How do animals buy their train tickets? How does a rabbit hold a reticule carrying her money and a pocket handkerchief? How does a toad even start a motor car, let alone drive one? RiverBank requires a certain mental flexibility with regards to the practical details of animals moving through the world like our own. We all have been prepared for this by many, many existing anthropomorphic games, shows, and movies and books. We are ready for RiverBank. RiverBank characters in both animals of the poetry-loving, charades-playing type and ordinary animals, with lowercase a, the creatures of which scientists would give an elegant Linnean name. Carl Lingus, a Swedish biologist, formalized the rules for naming in the 18th century. So, oh yeah, the Latin names for things. He looks quite nice in his portraits. Let's see. One distinguishes them in nomenclature. Animals with a capital A versus ordinary animals with a lowercase a. This holds true for individuals as well. A squirrel may read Sir Walter Scott and like to sketch. A squirrel collects nuts and barks at predators. Squirrel capital and squirrel lowercase. Squirrel like Solali, if you're here from God, part of that community. Solali would be squirrel with a capital S. There are other clear differences as well. Intelligence. In RiverBank, animals are intelligent as we are, though their naivete and good nature will make them seem simple. Whereas ordinary animals in this game behave in ways we would expect ordinary animals in our world to behave. Today, research reveals that many ordinary animals exhibit characteristics previously considered equally human, citing culture, casual thinking, language, theory of mind, and so forth, but this game isn't focused on ordinary animals, and you may determine for yourself how clever you want them to be, or how they interact with animals, with capital A. Size. Animals are usually not the same size as their ordinary animal counterparts. An ordinary mouse might be 2 inches long, not including its tail, but a proper, clothes-wearing mouse may stand a bit over a foot tall, and she may keep her tail tucked modestly away under her skirts. Some animals are actually smaller than their ordinary counterparts. A goose character might measure 2.5 feet tall, whereas an ordinary grayling goose can be half again as large. Migration and hibernation. RiverBank animals do not migrate or hibernate, even when their ordinary animal cousins do. Some of this is practical. Migration and hibernation are evolutionary answers to the problems of cold weather and limited resources, and animals' response to those pressures is close to that of humans: hearth, warm clothing, lighting, and larders. However, winter does affect animals by encouraging long naps and slow down from their active summertime life. It does that for humans too, actually, so. Okay. Ordinary animals have preferences for where they live, sometimes very specific. Bats really do live in belfries, and moles spend most of their time underground. Whether an animal home is built, even if it is a tree stump or a hole in the ground, it is built. It has walls, glass-paned windows, a roof, and furnishings, though the walls may be curved more than a human's would be used to, or may even be made of dirt. Animals of RiverBank enjoy the same diets as humans of their time, place, and economic status. Most of the ordinary animal counterparts for animals are carnivores, omnivores, or opportunistic eaters, such as squirrels and mice. Only rabbits, hares, and some birds can eat no animals at all. Players can determine for themselves what their animal characters prefer, but it's by no means uncommon for a rabbit, capital R, mole, and toad to sit down for breakfast that features eggs, ham, and kippers. Kipper is only fish that has been, is a small oily fish that has been butterflied, then preserved in oil, or salt or smoking. The appeal mystifies the author, who is otherwise quite fond of fish. Kippers aren't bad. I do enjoy a kipper or two, occasionally. You need to eat it with something like cream cheese, though, so it cuts the saltiness. That's if you get the salty ones. Although they are quite salty. Anyway, they do go really well like cream cheese and crackers, I've found. Social structures. According to their species, ordinary animals may be solitary, communal, seasonally social, centered on the family group, or some combination of these. Animals have mostly human-style social structures with family, friends, and foes, community ties, according to their species, ordinary animals may be solitary, communal, seasonally social, centered on the family group, or some combination of these. Animals, capital A, have mostly human-style social structures with family, friends, and foes, and community ties, though they may express an individual preference for solitude, small groups, or mobs. The animals of RiverBank are people, a category which excludes ordinary animals. Animal people share many of the same behaviors and beliefs as human people do. They drink tea at tea time, they ring doorbells before entering a friend's house because it is polite, they wait for the post, they use money, although coins and paper money feel large to them, being scaled for humans. They acknowledge the king's birthday, they celebrate Yule season with gifts, parties, and trees. They do not have all the rights human peoples do. For instance, they do not vote in public elections. In post-war in England, neither would women, alas, so fair. But they can own property, initiate lawsuits, and face trial in a British court. Okay, so they can't vote, but they have a lot of other legal rights. Aesthetics. There really is no telling how ordinary animals perceive beauty. In many ways, animals share human aesthetics. Some have strong opinions about architecture, music, and other artistic expressions. Others don't. Fair. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on time, because this is the thing about these kind of reviews, is you get partway through. Okay. Harbors many animals. You cannot play every sort of animal as a character. RiverBank animals are based on wild, ordinary animals of small or medium size, local or localized to southern and western England during the years just before World War I. Keep in mind these are basic guidelines for animal character. Keep in mind these basic guidelines. Do not derive from domesticated or habituated species, dogs, cats, or parrots. They do not derive from agricultural species, duck or goose, because while ducks and geese are common farm animals, they also thrive in the wild, unlike, say, chickens. Okay. I would say, though, that if you end up playing as a duck, you're playing as a wild duck. Because wild and domestic, they have branches. The ducks and geese did branch, and they do have domesticated variants, as do rabbits, interestingly. Species native to Britain or those imported many hundreds of years ago, which live in southern and western England in this time period. This eliminates wolves and ravens. It should eliminate dormouse, but the dormouse sneaks by virtue of appealing to in Alice in Wonderland. The author has no idea when, why Lewis Carroll introduced dormouse in the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Dormice were neither native nor introduced animal when he published Alice in Wonderland in 1865. However, in 1902, just before the time of RiverBank, few dormice escaped from the zoologist collection of a rich banker in central England, where they did rather well for themselves and have been extending their age ever since. So if it's 1902, then actually they are native at the time, which, oh, you could play with that. Okay, sorry, we're trying to, let's see, animals' size range. Derived from their species, from species as small as mice and large as fox or geese, they will find no shrews or roe deer. Interesting. Shrews are even smaller, right? There are mammals, birds, reptiles, or amphibians. Invertebrates only turn up as pets. While these constraints apply to characters, you occasionally may run into a non-player character, swans, dogs, or cats, as well as the ordinary animal varieties. Foreign visitors might include animals from outside England, such as opossums, koalas, and thylacines. The last thylacine, or Tasmanian wolf, died in 1936 in a zoo in Tasmania. These beautiful marsupials look like striped, long-bodied dog-cat hybrids. Interesting. So it's a now extinct creature. Let's see. While you play as a pre-generated character, while you can play as they have pre-gens, you will likely want to create your own, selecting animal, sort, customizing peculiarities and knacks, and character details. You collect all this on a character sheet, Appendix 4, on which you also record any rewards the Game Master grants at the conclusion of the session. Sorry, I know I'm going very quickly. Yes. Oh, Jen made the overlay. Cool. Jen just, yeah, because the AOTT is, that's font I've seen before, AOTT reviews, and then all on the tables are logo. Oh, and so she just used the pictures that Cobalt Press provided. Actually, it looks really good. You did a good job with it. Thank you. I'm not good with, I can never figure out how to do the cutouts for overlays, so my usual go-to is put up a background and leave blank spots where I can put things over them, but it does, it is not the best method. It would be very helpful if I could figure out how to do, but yes, thank you for providing the overlay. It's very pretty and well designed. Okay, cool. Capital A animals is how you can talk to. Okay, yes. Okay, what if I did no, that's the thing is, alright, if I did this, and this, and, okay, then I can't see what you can see, but I can see chat. This is always how it's tricky with having one screen and trying to stream, but, let's see. Okay, I think I'm gonna, do it this way, and then I can see chat. Alright, so, character creation steps. Select the sort of animal you want to be. That would determine preliminary stat, any innate personal peculiarities specific to your sort of animal, and information as to size, sociability, preferred home life, etc. Transcribe your sort's preliminary stats and innate peculiarities. Oh, you guys did character creation. I remember Jen and one other AOTT friend were doing something like this, or they were doing a character creation get-together, and it was while I was at work. Select 3 peculiarities. You get 3 peculiarities. You get your sort, elective points across stats. Ooh, alright, point buy system for stats. Preliminary stats plus any adjacent adjustments due to peculiarities, plus where you apply these 4 points, gives you a basic stats, and then select 4 knacks, and roll for 1 insufficiency. Okay, so you have to roll for weaknesses, or insufficiencies, but you get to select the knacks, which are presumably some sort of talent, and then you get to select your peculiarities. Alright. Oh, and then there's a website where you can get the, and acquire an appalling relative or 2 and select your pet if you have one. Use character building tokens to purchase abilities or exceptional items for your home. Record your personal information on your character sheet, name, pronouns, home, family, and connections, and basic description. Fill in additional character building details as you wish. I'm probably not going to have enough, well, we'll go through and see what's what. I might not have enough time to build a character on stream. if we want to get through all the other stuff too, but put a pin in that, because this is actually really fun. Peculiarities, knacks, and insufficiencies are described later in the chapter, but to get you started with character creation, you might think of peculiarity as who you are, a knack as what you can do, and insufficiency as a barrier to overcome. Peculiarities. Every animal has basic characteristics based on their sort, such as bats have wings or newts have sticky tongue. When you select a sort of animal, you receive the innate abilities for that sort. These are your innate peculiarities. You then select 3 personal peculiarities from the list. I really should be drinking tea, but cider will have to work. Innate peculiarities. You then select 3 personal peculiarities. You get 1 innate and 3 personal. Usually affect 1 or more of your basic stats, and afterwards can be used to inflect your role-playing. Innate peculiarities often affect preliminary stats as well, but this was calculated into the numbers given. Knacks. In most role-playing games, characters can have special expertise, skills, or abilities that make them better than usual at specific situations, such as fighting with a sword, picking a lock, or performing a magic spell. In RiverBank, Knacks gives this sort of advantage on deeds you might want to perform. As you create your character, select 4 knacks from the list. You will use them again and again during gameplay. Okay, they're just tricks you have up your sleeve, so to speak. Insufficiencies. Impairments you roll for. Many times an insufficiency affects your ability to perform certain deeds, but other make you clumsy or liable to swoon. Character has 4 basic stats. Numbers tailored to your sort of animal and adjusted during character creation. What sort of animal you are determines your initial stats. These are 4 basic stats. Okay, charm. High charm, personable, appealing, engaging, delightful, pleasing, charismatic, and winning. Charm is the stat of successfully interacting with animals and humans. Often it can get what it wants simply by asking nicely. In The Wind in the Willows, Toad has the high charm. Why else would his friends keep bailing him out of trouble? Note that anyone with charm as their highest stat takes a point of poetry when faced with a large group. Anyone with charm as their lowest stat takes a point of animality in the same circumstances as described in Animal Poetry Complications. Okay, so you gotta, if you face a large group, if you have it as your highest, you get more poetry-y, and if you describe it as your lowest, you do more animality. Interesting. Intrepidity. If you have high intrepidity, you are bold, dauntless, gutsy, stalwart, stout-hearted, and undaunted. Intrepidity is the stat of bold new project is that thinks of a bold new project and then does it. It doesn't always reflect conventional courage. Winnie the Pooh and Piglet both have high intrepidity when they go hunting for heffalumps, but neither of them feels very brave about it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Pother is a delicious English word. English with capital E. Well, actually, I think they all have capital E's, but it is used primarily in England, sort of English. Fuss or trouble. If you have high pother, you are a chaos magnet. Things just seem to happen because of you, to you and around you. Sometimes your decisions or actions make the chaos happen, but if anyone in your group of friends is going to find a treasure map hidden in a cellar or accidentally step on a nail, odds are it's you. In The Wind in the Willow, the toad is a very king of pother. Okay, let's see. Pother. Pother. Author. Okay. It's pother. Confused, flutter activity.
Pother.
Pother. Okay. It is pother. Pother. Okay. See, they don't... in the pronunciation guide in the dictionary, they don't have the TH is written differently, which is very frustrating. But it's pother. Okay. As pother. There's 2 distinctive TH sounds in English, and they are in IPA, usually you write them with 2 different symbols, and in the pronunciation guide, in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, they write, I guess, one with an underline and one without or something, but it's not, I'm used to IPA, so, when they don't, I'm a linguist nerd, I'm sorry, I too tend to do that. Okay. Back from our vocabulary, sort of thing. If you have high sense, you are grounded, Sense is grounded, level-headed, rational, reasonable, and sensible. You might think of it as common sense. Sense is the state of sound and prudent judgment based on carefully observing the situation of facts, thinking things through, and taking the best option. Peter Rabbit's mother had high sense. Oh, yes, she did. So sense is sort of like wisdom, sort of. These basic stats don't map onto conventional character stats from other role-play games, like I said. Alright, and they don't capture many conventional characteristics. Most animals enjoy a fairly narrow range of strength. They lack large physical variations of ordinary animal species. Okay, yes. Constitution, they are pretty tough by human standards, and dexterity, their paws or claws make them a bit clumsy compared to humans. Many feats related to dexterity or agility turn up as knacks. Just because you have learned to bake a pie with your paws doesn't mean that you can use them effectively to paint a picture or pound a nail. Stats do not map directly onto how well a character can do in any particular action. For instance, you don't use intrepidity to lift your end of your small boat, or sense to decipher your great aunt's miserable handwriting. But they do serve various purposes in the game. Okay. So you don't use them for inherently for character roles. Let you attempt actions that rise to levels of deed, described in Chapter 2. They may cause specific side effects when you attempt those deeds, also detailed in Chapter 2. Have a high or low stat may cause to be the catalyst character for a situation, as outlined in Chapter 5. Okay. This game emphasizes role-playing over mechanics. A character with high pother and low intrepidity is very different than a character with the reverse. Okay, fair. So stats a lot of it is roleplay, and then they use them for a few mechanical things. Fifth stat is the animal poetry range. The AP range is a slide bar between -8 animality and +8 poetry, where you usually start at 0. For regular role players, it's probably the closest thing to hit points in RiverBank, though in this case, the closer you are to 0, the better. In the course of a game session, your character's position on the AP range might shift. It's actually a lot like Honey Heist in that. Well, or rather, as diametrically opposed opposites, except that you either have one or the other. Numerous times from my situations and your decisions in dice roll. It's as much part of your character's identity as your stats, and it's a crucial part of performing deeds. You may see animality and poetry noted in your sort of enemy description, so don't be surprised if it comes up. I'll share more about the AP range of Chapter 2. Okay, selective sort of animal. There are 16. Badger, rabbit, hedgehog, or bat. Capital A animals, characteristics owe something to their ordinary animal counterparts, mingled with popular lore about what species, and or well-known literary visual examples. For example, fox has rusty-colored fur, pointed ears, and a lavish tail, and she may be shy or shifty. A mole probably has plushy velvet waistcoat and bad eyes, and may be well staunch, loyal, and true, like the mole in Wind of the Willows. An owl is likely to be wise, or at least thinks she is. Beyond this, each sort of animal has its specific abilities or specific characteristics known as innate peculiarities. A goose has wings, an otter is aquatic, and a hedgehog has spines. Many sorts of animals can become characters. Some entries in this section actually represent categories containing multiple animal options. For instance, frogs and toads are both amphibians, with many characters identical for the two sorts of animals. Many characteristics identical. In these cases, the description itemizes the differences. 16. We have 16. Badger, bat, corvids, crow magpie, rodents, columbids, which are doves and pigeons. Let's see. Waterfowl, fox, amphibians, lagomorphs, hares and rabbits, hedgehog, mole, otter, owl, squirrel, mustelids, which are stoats or weasels, which otters technically fall into that too, but that's, yes. Oh, I see. It ends on that. Oh, I see. Okay. It goes... So the sort of animal is... Okay, I see how this goes. Okay. I see what we're doing. Some sort of animals may seem to overlap with each other. Other sorts, for example, ordinary badgers are mustelids, and thus are related closely to stoats and weasels and otters. Yet the badger is its own sort of animal, and mustelids, stoats, and weasels, and otters are separate sorts. This often arises because of a famous literary or artistic animal of that sort. The badgers and the otters may be mustelids, but they are major characters in Wind of the Willows. And Redwall. And RiverBank's Sacred Text Anointed of Old. Did they put Redwall in there, I wonder? Because Redwall is a whole thing. I wonder if they did. That was my my youth was Redwall, and I wanted to, let's see. When you've chosen your animal sort, jot down the preliminary stats, innate peculiarities, and other important notes on your character sheets. Let's see. Elements of the animal sorts. Chapter describes each sort of category of animals with details about their elements below, starting with what sort of animal it is. If it falls under a category, the collective term appears in parentheses of the name, for example, lizard or newt, reptile. Okay, so they put the category one in. Okay. And then, of course, surnames. Pete, Trivoli, Peeves, Waggle Down, and the like. And you're invited to invent your own. Some surnames are specific to the sort of animal, such as Natterjack for toads and End for ducks, but many animals have what humans would view as traditional names reflective of local geography or landmarks, or with roots in early history of England. Very few surnames reflect a profession, such as Smith, and almost none reflect parentage or ancestry, with Jones, E. Johnson, as with Jones. Here are 100 popular surnames by English animals might have. Okay. Let's see. Range from just over a foot to just under 3 feet tall. Within this range, they fall into categories based loosely on the comparative sizes of their ordinary animal counterparts. Of course, a game master or group may decide to make everyone basically the same size. Diminutive includes frogs, toads, bats, dormice, and mice. They measure 12 to 16 inches tall, so foot to a foot and a half. Let's see, we have small, bats, moles, stoats, weasels, owls, lizards, certain owls, lizards, newts, rats, and water rats, toward the large end of this size. Squirrels and teals and widgeons, which are ducks in the waterfowl category, specific type of duck. Okay, so 15 to 20 inches tall. So 20 is just under 2 feet. So it's, yeah. So 12 to 16 is, well, okay, 16 is 4. So about a foot to, like, foot and a quarter, and then small is a foot and a half to just under 2 feet. And then medium is 18 to 26 inches tall. So you're going to be just over 2 feet, or 18 is a full foot and a half. Yeah, it's a foot and a half to just over 2 feet, and then small is whether you're closer to 1 foot or closer to a foot and a half. Okay, gotcha. Animals usually prefer daytime, nighttime, and the hours before dawn and dusk, though this does not mean the bat sleeps all day or rabbit can dust her parlor only in the gloaming. Diurnal, animals the best during daytime. Nocturnal, animals that are best at night. They take no points of animality from being in extreme darkness. See the complications. Crepuscular, that they're best during the dusk and dawn hours. Sometimes they prefer one or the other. Okay. Like human people in that they may be happiest during a specific time of day, but they can do things even when it's not their best time. This allows a nocturnal bat, a Deinogaurus, and a crepuscular rabbit to be part of the same adventure. Sociability. Most animals, ordinary animal species have established social structures. RiverBank animals may feel these inclinations too, filtered through their understanding of community and family. Solitary derive from species that live alone, small groups. Some animals derive from species that center around family groups, mother and babies, possibly a father and or helpers from other litters, and possibly a pack. For animals, this may manifest in a close group of chosen family or a few close friends, siblings, or relatives. Colony or flock. Some ordinary animals feel happiest in a crowd, whether a collection of their own species or a more diverse group. Certain animals may feel the same. Or seasonal flocking. Many ordinary animals spend most of the year alone or in small groups, but collect at certain seasons, usually related to breeding or migration. Some animals also collect seasonally for major holidays such as Stick Fair or Yuletide, minor annual events such as cricket matches, or sort-specific events. When amphibians head off to the pond in March, see frog or toad later in the chapter. Okay, preliminary statistics. This starting number for your stats, usually based on literary, artistic animal of the sort. You modify preliminary stats as you build your character. Then you have innate peculiarities, which I mentioned. Note it down for now, and then they have a detailed list of how they go in Chapter 2. RiverBank animals. This explains sort of general characteristics include preferred environments and brief physical description. Ordinary animals, yes. This short description of ordinary animals can help if you wish to incorporate certain qualities into your character. Okay. Common animal surnames. Animals can take their family name from a number of sources. For each sort has specific associated names. And then more sidebar about names in general. notes. Okay, so that's how you read the stat blocks. Let's see. Oh yeah, so here we go. We have badger, large, nocturnal, um, solitary. Some collecting groups called clans, but generally pretty. Let's see. And then you have high charm and low pother, so you don't get into a lot of trouble. Oh, and high sense, very high sense. But it's charm is not your highest nor your lowest. Sense is your highest, and pother is your lowest. Well, that's probably why sense is your highest and pother would be lowest. Innate peculiarities is digging. Um, Badgers are exceptionally good at digging and maintaining holes, tunnels. Plus one bonus to deeds involving digging and performing any needed minor repairs while moving through underground passages. Badgers take no animal points for being underground. Animality points. Receive a -1 penalty to deeds concerning seeing things at a distance, usually attention deeds, if they don't wear collective spectacles, monocle, etc. They need glass. They are nearsighted. Glasses. They need glasses to see things at a distance, which I do too, so I can feel that. So you got these guys. Okay, so that was just how to read the stats. And then RiverBank Badgers, and so a little cultural lore. Proprietary interest in the small and museless cousins, the stoats of measles, and often make friends with foxes and otters. They prefer home a little out of the general way. Badgers have black and white stripes, muzzle, heavy forepaws, and a flecked gray coat. Short, white tipped tail. The ears are edged with white. European badgers belong to the mustelid family. Ordinary badgers always live underground in woodlands, extensive tunnel complexes called sets, which I guess is just the same thing spelled differently. Omnivores, berries, worms, beetles, small mammals. Have long, strong claws, sharpened on trees. They're inquisitive and often gregarious, playing or grooming together. Males are boars, females are sows. Babies are cubs or kits, born in litters of 2 or 3. And then they have the surnames. Melees! They have Melees as a surname. Sorry. I am part of a group called Game of Tomes, which is and we're having an event right now, and House Melees is one of our houses, and they're built on badgers. So, okay, so then you have bats next. There's no picture for them, but that's okay. Yes. Alright, so you got that. Innate peculiarities are, let's see, high sense, low charm. Okay. Makes sense. Exceptional hearing, +1 bonus to deeds with auditory component. So the innate peculiarities are basically a mix of positive and... Well, actually, this one seems all positive. +1 to deed and auditory. No animality points for spending time in a tree, high in buildings, at the edge of cliffs, etc. Receive a +1 bonus to these involving moving at speed, such as escaping or running errands. A weak vision, they also get the -1 penalty. And wings. Bats they have a lot of really good ones for their... if they take flying knack and play a character building token for flight, they can fly. For details, the distance and carrying capacity, see flying under knacks. So yeah, they have to have a flying knack, and if you want to get flying, you have to, I guess, pay character tokens. So you have to. It costs more in terms of building points, but makes sense. Any species of bats calling with home, and RiverBank bat reflects this variety. They love company of their sorts, and it's not unusual to find bats collected in single sort villages with shared flats and public spaces. Most bats have adapted their schedules to suit the larger animal and human communities, but remain happiest at night. Round-bodied and short-tailed and thin legs, and their wings are forepaws that have evolved to support fur-covered skin membranes. Their faces can have dog-like muzzles, mouse-like noses, or elaborately folded snouts shaped like leaves. Nose leaf, interesting, is the technical term. Ears range from small and round to fox-like. RiverBank bats. Distinctive faces and ears directly reflect the shared ancestry with specific species. So there's ordinary, 13 years of bats native to England. Yes. So there's, oh yeah, for the ordinary animal, varied bats. Sleeping groups hanging from the ceilings of cellars, caves, and other unfrequented locations. All English bats eat insects and therefore hibernate in the winter when insects are rare. Infant bats are called pups. And then come bat surnames. All bats have wings, but not every bat chooses to fly any more than every human chooses to run. Okay. Oh, and then you got the crows. You got corvids. Size is medium. Bats are diminutive to small. So, very impressive wingspan. Okay, diminutive to small. Corvids are medium. Crows are social in flocks, and magpies collect in flocks and they keep themselves or small groups. Let's see. Low sense, high intrepidity. That's a fun one, actually. Head for heights, and they have innate peculiarities. They don't have a lot of lore, but innate peculiarities is head for heights, so they don't need to. They have a lot of the same one. Oh, they kind of repeat a lot of playfulness. Corvid received +1 bonus to deeds related to games and play, such as playing charades or cricket. Trickiness, +1 bonus to deeds involving sleight of claw. A clever pause deed. Sleight of claw, persuasion, sway, sneaking or escaping, discretion, playing tricks. Also, anytime they attempt to sway deed, roll a d6. On a 1 to 3, they receive a -1 penalty to deed. On a 4 to 6, they receive a +1 bonus. Huh. Corvid have wings and can take the flying knack and pay for the character building token, and they can fly. Let's see. RiverBank Corvids are supremely adaptable and thrive as well in cities as rural areas. Generally sociable, they prefer to live near other animals, capital A, though their mischievous can prove trying to their friends. They do love knickknacks and decorating their cottages or tree houses. While they prefer daylight hours, they will stay up all night for a party. Have wings, tails, and feathers and beaks. Ordinary the coloration, they resemble ordinary counterparts in coloration, so black feathers. Opportunistic eaters, ordinary Corvids scavenge refuse, catch small invertebrates, glean gain from harvested fields, steal eggs, even fledglings from nests of other birds. Their extreme intelligence makes them excellent problem solvers, and they have a reputation for stealing and hiding small objects. Crows are familiar to many. Heavy-beaked, all-black scavengers that adapt to most environments, highly sociable. They also will find pack bonds with humans if you let them. You can. Magpies prefer manure pastures and hedgerows, mature pastures and hedgerows. They have distinct plumage, a black head, dark iridescent feathers, and white belly and shoulders, an extremely long tail. They are more solitary than other Corvids. Benedict Branny, okay, so for crows and magpies, a couple of different names. Well, riverbank animals do not include ravens. All Corvids take pride in their largest cousin, and raven-related names are common, including Bram, Corbin, Fiacre, Huggin, Moonin, Raven, and Rovin. All Corvids have wings, but not every crow, magpie. And then you got rodents, small, always small, usually nocturnal, colonies. So dormice and water rats are solitary. For dormouse is the European edible dormouse. They were a popular Roman dish, roasted and dipped in honey. One can also turn them into a goulash. Huh. Okay, good to know. So you got pother and sense are both the same. Charm is low and intrepidity is high. Interesting. Aquatic, water rat only. Feel comfortable in the water and receive +1 bonus to deeds taking place in or on it, swimming, rowing, poling. Means of pulling a flat-bottom boat with a punt in common. Okay. Sailing, fishing, and so forth. This does not affect maintenance, repairs of watercraft, fishing poles, etc. Deft, plus to clever pause deeds. Climbing, +1 bonus for deeds involving climbing or scrambling. Sorry, I know I'm skimming a lot. I wish I had more time. This is the thing with these things, but take moon points from no animality points from heights. Interesting. Ferocity, mouse and rat only. And then winter topiary is dormouse only. So they each have one that's each group has one extra, essentially. Mice and rats share it, but they all have the same number. It's just alright. Mice and rats receive +1 bonus to sway deeds that involve intimidation, and deeds of valor that involve fighting. Mice and nibble. Rodents have teeth that never stop growing, which encourages them to eat frequently. Someone with nibbly always carries a few snacks, useful for food emergencies. Nibbly. Okay. They like snacks. I mean, honestly, same. There. Thieves. Thrives underground. Rodents take no animality points for being underground, so they don't take points from heights or underground. That's a pretty tight combination, actually. Ordinary dormice hibernate during the winter. Dormice do not, but they... Dormice, capital D, do not, but they remain prone to sluggishness in the winter months, especially outdoors and when not properly dressed. -1 penalty to wintertime deeds performed outside a heated environment. So they are delicate hothouse flowers who don't do well in the cold. Noted. Yes. See, associated with their ordinary cousins, but all seem happy in small houses and cottages, whether bermed or not. Everyone prefers evening and the nighttime, but as with all nocturnal animals, this manifests mainly as a need for tea or coffee in the morning. Ordinary rodents, pointed muzzles, round tubular bodies, small feet, long prehensile tails, olive-rounded ears. Many eat grasses and seeds by preference, but dormice are opportunistic. Look very, like very, look very like ordinary oversized mice, pale gray with large black eyes. They are forest dwellers and purely herb, herb, herbivorous. Dormice are recent introduction in England, included here because of their presence in Alice Adventure in Wonderland. And they did get here. Apparently, they got there before 1911. So house mice, wood mice, and field mice each refer to a habitat which their name refers. House mice are gray; their country cousins golden brown. Rats live in tunnel systems called colonies, and in and near towns and farms. Brown rats have coarse gray-brown fur and thick bare tail. Norway rats don't live in the countryside at the time of RiverBank, though you may find them in traveling in town or ports. Interesting. Water rats live in reed beds and burrow inside slow, clear rivers and lakes, sometimes with an underground entrance. They have glossy black, dark brown fur and a fur-covered tail. Rats also live in and around the city, New York City, a lot. And they're actually large. Like rats you see in, say, the Bronx are. Ooh, that could be like a My American Cousin thing. You get a rat in the Bronx. That would be fun. Who's like pushing 3 feet tall, and just because if you've seen the rats in New York, it's just they're big. Even the ones that we have at the Palisade Center in Nyack, who kick around outside there, are much bigger than you usually see. And that's not even that's a bit out from the city. What else? I got to keep an eye on the time, but let's see. I have some names. Susceptible to dental problems, and consult specialists to have their incisors filed. A painless procedure that may require a visit to town. Ooh. Columbids. Doves or pigeons. Medium-sized, with a pigeon slightly larger. Diurnal. Flocking, but nesting separately. Okay. Let's see. Head for heights. Take no animality points for spending time in trees. Speediness, same as the bats, where it's a +1 bonus to moving wings, which means that they can do flying. Alright. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this kind of run-through variant. Ooh, it is lovely. Oh, and I have a little... Okay. It does have alt text. Interesting. Doves and pigeons are gregarious and love company. They usually live in cottages or tree houses, but in the Victorian era, there was a columbid fad for houses raised on stilts with beautifully tended moss and rock gardens beneath. Yes, this is the capital A one. All right. Cottages or tree houses. There was a columbid fad for houses raised on stilts with beautifully tended moss and rock gardens beneath them. Many of these stilt houses remain in use, though sometimes tenants have replaced the garden with broken bicycles, bits of lumber, and other jetsam. Interesting. Oh, like the stash stuff there, and it becomes like a garage where it's... Alright. Doves and pigeons are widespread throughout the British Isles. These ground foragers prefer grain, young leaves, vegetables. They eat everything from fried chips to insects. Both parents are involved in raising their young, called squabs. You would think that a squab, a baby pigeon, and squabble, a quarrel noisily over petty matters, would be related. Birds squabble all the time, right? But origin of squab is an old Scandinavian word for loose, fat flesh, presumably because that's what squabs are made of, whereas squabble comes from a different Scandinavian word for disagreement. So they're not etymologically related. Interesting. Okay. Common pigeons, gray bird with iridescent green neck, dark brown, and a yellow beak. The color pattern varies. Of street pigeons do not show up in wild rock doves. The bulkier and darker stock dove is more likely to live in trees than its cousins. Yes, so the city pigeons, street pigeons don't show up in wild rock doves. Common pigeon is rock dove. Okay, so the colored dove is more uniform pale gray or taupe shading to black wings with black beak and white edge, black patch of the back of its neck. Larger wood pigeon boasts a more vivid colors, gold or pink breast feathers, a white patch at the back of its neck, and white wing patches, and a barred tail. And then they have common names, and not all of them can fly. That's the interesting thing, too, is that pigeons you see in cities are feral. That is to say, they were once domesticated birds, and then people stopped having interest in keeping them, so they were just kind of loosed into the cities and do okay there sometimes. They're considered pests, but and you got they have herons too. Waterfowl size herons and geese are large, medium mallard and pintail ducks and Teals and widgeons are small. Interesting. Crepuscular, ducks, and diurnal for geese and herons. They are flock. They are social creatures. Let's see. They have very high pother sense. Chaos geese. Okay, this is the unnamed goose game. Yeah, they are high pother, but pretty everything. Aquatic. Waterfowl feel comfortable in the water and receive +1 bonus to deeds taking place there. Does not affect maintenance, not boat repair, but sailing. Ferocity. Geese have ferocity. Interesting. So there's only geese have 1 extra as opposed to rodents where they all get 1 extra, but it's different. +1 bonus to sway deeds involving intimidation and to deeds of valor that involve fighting. Head for heights. No animality points for spending time in trees, high buildings. Wings. Okay. Head for heights and wings. Interesting. Herons and geese are large, and ducks can be small or medium-sized, depending on what sort of duck they are. All prefer houses above ground, though near water. Their appearance generally reflects that of ordinary counterparts. Ducks and geese are just farm animal, but wide varieties exist as well. Most prevalent, especially in winter, teals, mallards, and pintail are common in the south and central England. Only 1 wild goose frequents southern England, the Canada goose. Yes. Which introduced several. The 17th century as a decorative addition to landscaping. Oh, so they did import them from Canada. Interesting. But that's what the note says. People, a decorative addition to landscaping. Ducks, geese, and herons all prefer living near calm water. Hunters wanted to have Canada geese because they thought it would be cool, but then they turned out to be kind of mad because they were slow and didn't provide exciting hunts, which is interesting. Measured mediocrity is the safest approach. Medium ducks, mallard males have distinctive green head and yellow bill. Females are speckled brown with violent blue wings. Pintails are lighter. Males brown head, brown and white striped wings. An extremely long tail. Females resemble female mallard. Okay, mallards and pintails both graze or dabble in the water for weeds. Teals and widgeons are slightly smaller. I've not heard of either of them. Green-eyed patches on the chestnut color head. Female, again, look like mallard, except her wing patch is black and green. Widgeons are small and charmingly plump, with rounded cheeks and pale gray beaks. Female is mostly brown with black wing feathers. The male is dove gray with chestnut head. I do not think we have those in America. Never heard of them, but they sound cool. Cream cheeks and green and white wing patches. Teals dabble for seeds in water. Plants, widgeons graze on grass and land plants. Alright, Canada geese, large black and white birds with long neck. Canadian geese are, yes, we've seen, as living in eastern U.S., you see them all the time because they come down here for the winter. The plants, grasses, seeds, and berries. Large gray birds with exceptionally long necks and legs. Dramatic black stripes leading to their light eyes back to a crest they raise when threatened or protecting their nests. Carnivores, eat what they can catch. And then they have names, and all have wings, but not all of them can fly. And then you got fox, who are large, crepuscular, and nocturnal, and they come from small family groups. Okay, so you got high charm and intrepidity, which means the charm is not the highest stacks. It's tied, which affects that. And their pother is rather low. They have okay sense. Interesting. Exceptional hearing. +1 bonus for hearing. Speediness. +1 bonus for speed. Trickiness, the same as the corvids. +1 bonus deeds involving sleight of paw. Persuasion, sneaking or escaping, or playing tricks. They may attempt a sway deed roll, and then it's a bonus or a penalty depending on if they have their, how tricksy they're being, I guess. Along the largest animals of the riverbank in the country, they prefer to live in underground burrows or burned cottages and houses. They also thrive in urban environments with a animal population. They are partial to be dawn and dusk. Any project a fox initiates likely starts in the crepuscular hours. Fox often make friends with badgers, corvids, and other muselids. Most rural neighborhoods have no more than a few fox residents. When riverbank foxes wish to go courting, they visit the forest or town in January for the fox's short season, a frenzied sequence of dances and parties. Foxes have long, lean bodies, white throats and bellies, and black legs and paws. Faces are vividly colored: white chin, black nose, and tear spots on the muzzle. Black eye outlines, mobile pointed ears of black and white. Foxes are opportunists, living in everything from native badger sets to unused gardening sheds. Predators are small animals, scavenge as well. One sees them most often in the dawn, dusk, and evening hours. Male is called a fox dog, a vixen. Babies are called cubs or kits. Sorry. And then you have amphibians and lagomorphs and... Sorry, I am trying to... I wish I could read them all. This is the tricky part, is that you don't want to skip any of them because they're all interesting. But also... I'll keep going for a little bit. Let's see. I'll keep an eye on the time. They are diminutive amphibians. Amphibians can breathe both water... Oh, there are innate peculiarities. High pother. Low sense. But charm is not their lowest stat. Sense is. It's tied for lowest, so they don't have that charm stat thing with big groups, because sense is their lowest stat. Yes. But high intrepidity and pother, they get into all sorts of nonsense. Amphibians can breathe both air and water, which makes underwater actions feasible. A frog or toad can attempt tasks that require extended time underwater easily, middling, or hard deeds. As easy, middling, or hard deeds, even though this task can be impossible for other sorts without specialized aids. And they have aquatic as +1 to deeds taking place in the water. They have climbing, interesting, +1 bonus for climbing or scrambling, and no penalty for heights. The sticky tongue, toads only. So toads have an extra one, that, and no extra one for frogs. Long, sticky tongue can use to pick up, catch, or retrieve things. +1 bonus to certain deeds at the game master's discretion. And winter torpor with the dormouse, where it's penalty in wintertime. Delicate hothouse flowers, indeed. Let's see. Are quite round, but with long, muscular legs. They prefer to live in near water in burrows beside rivers and ponds, homes carved into the base of tree trunks, and freestanding cottages or larger homes. Smooth skin covering ranging from dark green to gray to chestnut yellow, with dark stripes and blotches on their legs and back. Paler patches on their throats and bellies. They have a dark patch behind each eye. Bumpy skin, speckled brown, golden brown, and pale flecked belly. Ordinary amphibians, common frog and the common toad, and the newt, which you'll find in reptile, because reasons. Hunt insects, slugs, snails, and worms. Spawn in the spring, collecting and breeding ponds, and leaving their fertilized eggs underwater for becoming tadpoles. The tadpoles eventually lose their tails and leave the water. Amphibians are cold-blooded, so ordinary toads and frogs hibernate in the winter and rest in the shade during the hot days so as not to overheat. Interesting. Okay. Fanciful surnames that linger to this day. Tigglemarsh, Parinel, La Moliere, Jingery Pingery, and Sporgle. Interesting. Amphibians take a simultaneous pilgrimage to the pond, which is any number of ancestral ponds. Toads and frogs do not use the same ponds. For about a week, they carouse with dozens or hundreds of other frogs and toads. Most of these ponds have crowd of little guest houses, an outdoor floor for dancing, and at least one good restaurant. It's rumored that the visitors all bathe in the nude. Whatever the circumstances, frogs and toads return relaxed and pleased with life. Special amphibian festival celebrated the 21st October and described in Chapter 5. Good to know. Lagomorphs. Medium, with hares being slightly larger. Rabbits are communal, while hares are solitary. Exceptional hearing, +1 bonus. Then nibbly, they have the teeth and they need to have snacks. Playfulness, hare only. So they have... hares get 1 and rabbits get an extra. Okay. +1 bonus related to games and play, such as playing charades or cricket. Speediness, +1 bonus to speed. Thrives underground, rabbits only. Rabbits take no animality points for being underground. Generally highly sociable, rabbits love having housemates. They prefer underground or bermed homes. More solitary hares build above-ground houses in open areas. Hares and rabbits have long ears and twitchy noses of their ordinary relatives. While hares and rabbits both lagomorphs with distinctive strong rear legs and long ears, they are dissimilar in many ways. Physically, hares are larger and leaner looking, with wider set eyes, and they live in open areas such as meadows, fields, and downs, where they sleep crouched in the grass or furrowed during the day, feeding in the evenings and mornings. Ordinary rabbits live in underground colonies called warrens in open country. Both eat grass, seeds, twigs, plants. Both have brown fur, although the rabbit's fur is softer and have short black and white tails they raise when they are running. Male lagomorphs are called bucks, females are called does. Leveret, a young hare is a leveret, and a young rabbit is a kitten. Rabbits are kittens. Okay. In the spring, in particular, hares leap, chase one around, and even stand on their hind legs to paw at one another, but they can engage in this vigorous activity at any time. So they like to horseplay. They're prone to horseplay. Let's see, lagomorphs don't share surnames. So for hare, Hassan, Husk, Leaper, Lever, Bunny, Cannon. Okay. When a rabbit grazing outside a hole with others sees predatory such as a cat or hawk, it repeatedly thumps the ground with its hind foot. The sound of vibration warns warren mates of a threat, and they immediately flee for the nearest hole. Threatened or frightened rabbits might start to jump thump before they become aware of it. Lagomorphs are susceptible to dental problems and sometimes require to consult specialists to have their incisors filed if they need to go to the dentist. Let's see. Hedgehogs are medium. Alright, I'm keeping an eye on time. They're... Ooh, hedgehogs can climb. I did not know that. +1 for deeds involving climbing or scrambling. Spines. This one's interesting. Well, okay, we haven't seen it before, is my point. Defending against physical attacks of any sort. If foe is injured, receives -1 penalty for any attack after the first of the same encounter. In moments where a hedgehog feels under stress or threatened, the spines involuntarily start to rise, and they hedgehogs capillates don't hibernate, but they are delicate hothouse flowers that require warm places to do things. They're usually grayish-brown with cream-tipped dark spines and black noses. Pale and albino hedgehogs are not uncommon. Spines usually lie flat, but when they feel threatened or frightened, the spines rise. Frightened hedgehogs are tempted to curl into a ball, protecting their face, paws, and belly. In preferred environments above ground, houses to burrow. Conventional above ground houses to burrows, often friendly and chatty despite their preference for solitude. As nocturnal omnivores, ordinary hedgehogs cover miles each day in quest of invertebrates, frogs, and other toads, snakes, birds, eggs, mushrooms, roots, berries, and carrion, which they find with their excellent sense of smell. Hedgehogs are one of the few English mammals that truly hibernate, going into a state of torpor. They occasionally dig burrows, most likely live in heavy leaf fall and the like. Males are called boars, and female sows. Babies are hoglets. Hedgehog, as in pig, that's why. That's probably why. Interesting. Okay. We are learning all sorts of things, and I am glad you guys are sticking with me through this sort of fun times. Yes. Okay. Ordinary hedgehogs tend to lick things and spread the saliva on their spines. Ordinary hedgehog proves susceptible to balloon syndrome, which causes them to inflate when air collects under loose skin, often a physical blow, such as falling or being kicked. It is rare and dangerous if untreated, but easy to address. Interesting. So lizards and newts are reptiles. And then we have moles, owls, and otters. Squirrel, okay, owls, squirrels. Okay, muselids. Alright, there's a number more. I think we can get through some of them, at least. Let's see. High pother and low... Oh, it's high intrepidity. A lot of chaos surrounding them, but kind of tend to be timid about it. Newts can breathe underwater, both air and water, which makes underwater actions feasible. Climbing, so only newts get the amphibious trait. Climbing, lizards and newts get a +1 bonus. Detachable tail, that one's unique. A lizard and newt's tail or other limbs can break off and grow back. Useful if you're being pursued or you need a distraction. Humans especially find this unsettling. Limbs grow back after 2 weeks. Newts, okay, so, newts get 2 extra ones that lizards don't get. Huh. Sticky tongue. Long, sticky tongue they can use to pick up, catch, or retrieve things. They may add a +1 bonus to certain deed challenges. Game master's discretion. And then winter torpor. They're cold-blooded. They have delicate hothouse flowers. They need warm places. Lizards and newts in RiverBank are small. Both prefer houses above ground. Lizards are rough-skinned and medium brown, but vividly patterned with dark stripes and spots of yellow, orange, greens, and grays. Chins and throats are white, and their bellies are orange if male and yellow if female. They're larger and stockier than newts. Smooth-skinned in shades of gold and olive, irregular parallel stripes from the length of their bodies. Ordinary lizards are diurnal and live on... Interesting. So, lizards are diurnal and newts are nocturnal. Their size small. Newts are often amphibious, but this sort of combines lizards and newts because of their similarities about their morphology, the shape. Okay. But they are amphibians in terms of other things. Alright. Alright. Let me know if I'm going too fast or you want me to, like... I know I'm going kind of speedrunning this because I will have to eventually end the stream and go to work, but dang. I'm enjoying... so far I'm enjoying this. I might ask Jen if I could do a part 2 and have the stream code for that. Okay. Darren will live on heaths, moors, grassy, scrub-covered banks. In contrast, newts are slower moving and nocturnal, preferring lush pastures and open woodland near breeding ponds. Both eat slugs, worms, and arthropods. So they have some names. Moles are small, nocturnal, solitary, and they have high charm and high sense. These are social engineers. Low pother. They don't get into trouble. Yeah, and a little bit of intrepidity. So these guys are social, like the social creatures. Exceptionally good at digging and maintaining holes. Yes, okay. Just checking. I didn't miss anything. Sometimes with the 2 layout pages, for certain PDFs, it does some interesting things when you scroll, and you got to be aware of that. Let's see. Moles are exceptionally good at digging and maintaining holes, tunnels, and underground chambers. +1 bonus. Same as badgers. Thrives underground. No animality for being underground. Weak vision. -1 penalty for deeds concerning seeing. Prefer underground homes. Their sensitivity to light leads them to take precautions during daytime expeditions. It's a pleasant sight to see moles strolling with friends, carrying green-shaped parasol and wearing dark sunglasses. Their soft fur can range from light fawn to velvety black. Usually have a few very close friends. Ordinary moles spend most of their lives underground in a network of tunnels that serve as traps for earthworms and other invertebrates. They fall prey to... the prey falls or moves into the open tunnels where the mole's sensitive whiskers detect the incursion. To change direction underground, they can move backward or even somersault in the tunnel. Spend nights on the surface hunting small prey. Mole has a strong paddle-like forepaw, compact, sturdy body, and long nose, pink at the tip, with a short tail that stands upright. Rising ears are very small. Males are called boars, females sows, and babies are pups. Interesting, so not piglets. Okay. Fellar, loam, moldwarp. So not much on moles. Interesting. Otters. Oh. Yes, this is otter. Okay. Otters are large with low pother and high intrepidity. So they don't get into much trouble, but they are go-getters. Interesting. Nocturnal, diurnal, solitary, or family groups. They have a very, very mixed bag with that. Innate peculiarities are aquatic, so +1 bonus for swimming and fishing, but not for fixing boats. Deft, +1 to clever paws deeds. Playfulness, +1 to deeds related to games and play. Otters are large animals. They prefer river or lakeside homes, ideally burrows or cottages of stone and brick. While most animals eat fish, ranging from sole to kipper, otters make rather point of it. Dinner or tea at an otter's house may include fish in every course, ending with salmon ices drizzled with maple syrup. Many otters have Scottish connections. Otters are notable for their exceptionally lush fur. Ordinary otters live in moss or grass-lined dens called holts, under stones, roots of trees, banks and lakes, rivers and streams, especially areas with heavy cover. They have thick, tapered tails and dense, waterproof fur. They live on fish and amphibians they catch underwater and eat on land. Male otters called boars or dogs. Female sows are bitches, because that's how the opposite of dog. Babies are pups or cubs. Interesting. Common otter surnames. Notes. Ordinary otters like slides. In winter, they repeatedly slide down steep snowy banks in the water to make ice slides. In summer, they fashion mud slides, very slick and fast. On hot August day, most RiverBank otters start a slide and encourage friends to try it. Okay. Owl. This description is specific to a tawny owl, but it fits generally the 3 ordinary owls common to central and southern England, barn, tawny, and little. Though little owls is substantially smaller than its tawny and barn cousins. As a player, they can specify the type of owl if desired. So, owls are medium, but if you're playing a little owl, you can have it as small. Time of day is nocturnal and solitary. Let's see. High sense and low intrepidity, which makes sense. Relatively high pother. Decent charm. Okay. Exceptional eyesight. +1 bonus to attention deeds with visual components. Take no points of animality from being extreme darkness. Exceptional hearing. +1 to deeds with auditory component. Head for heights, speediness, and stealthiness, +1 to deeds involving sneaking. Wings, which they can get the flying knack if they want. While they have a reputation for wisdom that spreads into human lore, owls are actually just very sensible. They live in cottages and houses in the ground and in trees, but their tree houses often rise only 5 or 10 feet above the ground, with wooden staircases leading up to their front doors for the ease and comfort of guests. As with all nocturnal animals, they can only manage daytime enterprises, but are far drowsy, but feel a little drowsier than most. Ordinary owls in England are nocturnal, and they make nests in tree boles, steeples, barns, cliffs. Evolved to make them almost silent in flight, which helps them catch small mammals, birds, and etc. Smaller birds finding tawny or barn owl sleeping during the day may mob it. Eats mainly. Okay, the little owl eats only insects. Cocks and females hens, same as chickens, nestling or owlets. Interesting. And then all owls have wings, but not every owl can fly. You got squirrel. I think this is almost the last one. Let's see. Climbing. They have high intrepidity and low sense. Okay. But they have equal intrepidity and pother, which is not good. It's so high. +1 bonus for deeds involving climbing or scrambling. No points in animality for height. Yes. They have no animality for heights, just the 2 climbing ones. Okay. Nibbly, which they need the snacks, and speediness, +1. Small, but their dramatic tails can make them seem much larger. Unlike their American cousins, they are rich chestnut color with long ear puffs. They change coats twice a year, from short, glossy summer coat to a bulkier, slightly darker winter coat. They have a reputation for gossip that is not entirely unearned. And then there's the ordinary. Then we have red squirrels in wooded areas, pine cones, acorns, seeds. Male spores, female sows, babies all called kittens. Oh, so they only have red squirrels in England and not the gray ones we often have in America. Alright, let's see. Then you have RiverBank squirrels derived from red squirrels, not the slightly larger gray cousins most familiar to Americans. Gray squirrels appeared in England by mid-19th century but did not become established in the wild until early 20th. Red squirrels remained one and more common until the 1940s and have since withdrawn into their motor woodlands in Wales and the north. If you wish to play a gray squirrel, they are very likely to new in the neighborhood peculiarity. See personally peculiarities list. And step 2 in this chapter are susceptible to dental problems and need to go to dentists occasionally. Okay. Then you got the muselids, the stoats and the weasels. Small. Males larger than females. Stoats are slightly larger. Daytime, there's no species preference for daytime. Solitary types. High pother score and low charm. A lot of trouble. Which mimics, if you go to Redwall and such, that portray of them. +1 bonus for deeds involving climbing or scrabbling. No points for heights. Ooh, they have ferocity too. +1 bonus to sway in deeds that involve intimidation or valor. Deeds of valor that involve fighting. +1 bonus to deeds involving moving at speed. Let's see. Stoats and weasels build homes in or near woodlands, but they also claim abandoned huts and outbuildings for themselves, adapting over time. Oh, that's for the RiverBank muselids, yeah. Stoats and weasels capital. Near woodlands, they also claim abandoned huts and outbuildings themselves, adapting them over time to comfortable, if unconventional homes. Reputational for troublemaking haunts even the most virtuous of their sort. Look quite similar, brown and golden fur, white on their bellies, but stoats have black tip to their tail, and weasels have darker throat patch. Even gown-wearing stoats and weasels let their tail tips peek out from a fold in the fabric. Both have heart-shaped faces and cupped ears. Let's see. The ordinary ones are small but fierce, hunt mostly rodents, but can kill rabbits and other animals twice their size by biting them on the throat at the base of the skull. Thrive in open country where they live in rock crevices, holes, and abandoned rabbit burrows. Male is called a dog, a hob or a jack, female a jill. Babies are called pups, kits. Okay, kittens. And they have some names. Stoats and weasels casually take on the surnames of other larger muselids, so it is very possible one named Tom Martin, Jellybutt Polecat, or even Cyril Otter. Interesting. So, that is all the species. We're going to have to skim through the rest of this. I'm sorry, but the species are interesting. I think so, anyway. I'm glad I got a chance to look at this. Thank you, Jen, for hobnobbing with Cobalt Press and getting the copy. Received innate peculiarities, specific 3 personal peculiarities. Specific details, characterization, flesh out characters. Personal peculiarity makes one-time permanent improvement of your preliminary stats, or occasionally improves 1 or 2 stats or decreases another. After that, peculiarity means to support roleplay by... Okay, so it's mostly a stat adjustment and then roleplay. You can choose which stat your peculiarity alters, whether it affects sense or pother has the same effect on the stat, but the choice offers role-playing alternatives. Make stat adjustment on your character sheet as required by your chosen peculiarities, and then... Okay. Let's see. Choose 3 personal peculiarities for your character from the following descriptions. The section doesn't detail how roleplay, beyond hinting at possibilities. You, the player, decide overcomplicate things. What overcomplicate things look like for your animal. Okay. Appreciate the finer things. Enjoy worldly pleasures. Delicious food, delightful cordials. Suckle vegetables, or listening avidly to ever-growing collection of opera records. Increases 1 stat, but which one choose may imply something different for your role playing. Either +1 to charm or +1 to sense, depending on how you roleplay that. Characters with the peculiarity take a point of poetry when faced with moments of outstanding artistic beauty. All right. Okay, yes, so there's that one. You appreciate the finer things, believes in self-reliance. You get +1 to sense, and admire others who meet their own practical and emotional needs. And work to get better at this. You trust your friends and relations to be there for you when you need them, but you feel happiest when you don't have to ask for that help. +1 to sense. Believes in the unexplained. Ghosts, fairies, martins, imps. Of course they're not real, are they? How can you be sure? Martians. Oh. Just because you haven't seen a ghost doesn't mean they aren't there. You haven't seen an aardvark either, and yet you're reliably informed that they're real. You may not be interested in spiritualism, fairy photography. That's the notes on fairy photography. In the time of RiverBank, all sorts of people experimented with generating photographic illustrations. In fairy photography, the winged creatures lurk in garden greenery. In our modern, hardened times, you can easily tell that someone painted a fairy on a slip of paper, cut it out, and placed it among the foliage. But at the time, many otherwise quite sensible people were taken in, including Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes. Yes, they did create these. They claimed they photographed fairies. It was a historical prank of sorts. These young men claimed they photographed fairies, and then no one could figure out how they did the altercation. And if you look at it, it's just like, oh, they just did practical effects. They had a cutout, but a lot of people were like, well, they didn't alter the photographs by any of the sneaky behind the scenes Photoshop, or not Photoshop, but they had methods of doctoring photographs that you see actually in a lot of you can airbrushing is what we call it now, but you can doctor. They did have the technology to doctor photographs. It was just they used different, more physical techniques, and they saw that these could not have been done like that, and then were quite believed that they were real, but they did it by sometimes practical effects just are like that. Anyway, unexplained only improves 1 stat, but which one you choose might... okay, so it's either +1 to charm or +1 to pother. It's either you're entertaining or mysterious all around, distracting. Yes, quite important, like baking cake or writing to the times. Wrangles. You love a bit of fiction, the salt that adds savor to life. This makes you a contrarian in discussions. Oh, a bit of friction. So you like to kind of bait people into arguments. When uppish animals from Heavenly Green, Animal Village in the Hills, comes in for the stick fair and starts putting on airs about the superiority of their tavern's ales, it's your clear duty to thump some heads. Brangles increases only 1 stat, but either you choose implies something. So you get +1 bonus to intrepidity. Blech. That's hard to say. Or +1 to pother, or +1 to sense. You're just trying to convince others of the errors of their ways. Gives not a damn. You have, at least act as though you have, complete indifference to goings on in life. This may make you impatient, and you may tend to hurry things along. Portmanteau peculiarity, gives not a damn. Affects multiple stats at once. So, it gives you a -1 to charm. +1 to intrepidity, and a +1 bonus to pother. yeah, so you intrepid and problem causing, but also -1 to charm. Has a job. Possibly you are paid for your job. Possibly you are inherited the responsibility. Possibly you've taken on a very important mission. You might be a reporter, agriculture vicar, world famous novelist, a barrister, a star cricket for the RiverBank's 11, a suffragist, postmistress, or something else. Has a job only increases 1 stat, but which you choose. It's either +1 bonus to intrepidity, get out there and go get her, or +1 to sense. Learn some important lessons about management, responsibility, and getting things done. Yes. You've learned responsibility because you have a job, or you're just big on goading. Has lots of family. So, they have that one. You have many relatives with whom you are in touch. Letters, visits, even telegrams and telephone calls are in every part of your life. Has a lot of family. Increases only 1 stat, but which one you choose implies something different. +1 to charm. You learn your social graces and snuggling furnace of large, robust family, which serves well in a cooler atmosphere of adult friendships. +1 to intrepidity. To keep up with your siblings, cousins, and younger aunts and uncles, you learn to be bold. Or +1 bonus to pother. Pother was a commonplace feature of your childhood. Or +1 to sense. Someone had to be the sensible one. +1 to sense is the oldest child, the one that the eldest child gets. Has a pet. You love your butterfly, pillbug, or so cute millipede, and you bring it everywhere, perhaps on a color-coordinated leash or wearing a bow. If you don't has a pet, you can't have one. Perhaps you're allergic. Later in this chapter, you will create a pet and expand a character building token for it. Has a pet, increases only 1 stat. Which one you choose? Yes. +1 to bonus to charm. Yes. Assume having a pet makes you more interesting to others. Or +1 to pother, and because you have a little chaos gremlin that lives with you, and meddles with things. Okay. So, you have, personal peculiarities. Has a pet. Has enthusiasms. You have a special interest. Special something that others might find trivial, collecting stamps, building better bicycles, or recreating the menus of ancient Roman writer Apicius. I would assume that if you had that, you would know how to pronounce it. Whatever else is going on, you pursue this obsession. It may change from time to time, but you always have one. Portmanteau peculiarity, it has enthusiasm, has multiple stats at once. So you get +1 to intrepidity, and a +1 to pother. So if you get distracted by a rare bird, and then when you're supposed to be doing something else, if you're a birder, because that is a common one. Minus penalty to sense. You really will do almost anything to pursue your current fancy. That there was a kitchen herb that Romans loved so much it became extinct, and Silphium. Let's see. Has Wanderlust. Love roving heart. Make rambles across the countryside, and you get a +1 bonus to intrepidity. Comfortably off. You have at least one of the following 3 peculiarities. Yes, you can have only one of the following 3. Is comfortably off, is dependent, is poorish. If you have enough money for all sorts of things, your life involving any budget, someone else handles all that sort of thing. But practically speaking, all characters in this cozy world have the means to own pretty things and afford their pleasures, unless player has determined otherwise, but you are doing better than that. Comfortably off gives you extra 3 character building tokens described in step 7 of this chapter. Increases only 1 stat, but which one you choose may imply something different. +1 to charm, or +1 to intrepidity. Host big parties, and yes, so whether you're foppish dandy or whether you're an entrepreneur. Oh, or you can go +1 to pother. Expensive items like wager boats and motor cars because it seemed like a good idea at the time. Or, what are wager boats? Fast boat that, when hopes, allows one to win wagers. +1 bonus to sense. You have money, but you know better than to throw it around irresponsibly. You have class. Your friends with high intrepidity or poor may view this as shameful misuse of your funds. You can have one. Okay, you can have either comfortably off, dependent, or poorish. While not personally rich, you have an appalling relative who gives you more than generous allowance, which enables you to enjoy the finer aspects of life. But this comes with a terrible curse. The appalling relative. Later in this chapter, you can create your appalling relative, who can affect events in the game. Special category of foe. Yes. You have a trust fund, except your trust is still alive, so you have to deal with that. Is dependent gives you 2 character building tokens, an extra 2, and peculiarity only increases 1 stat. +1 bonus to charm, or +1 to pother. But yeah, you've been puttering up your relatives. Let's see, appalling relative. Continue interference with your life because and because you're dependent, you can't really say no, and then it just adds nonsense. Yes, quite good at discerning. Yes, +1 to sense because you've learned your lesson well. Is dramatic. Let's see. Oh, is poorish. You may be gentry of the middle classes, but last you don't have the readies. Throwing money at a problem is not a reliable solution, though you contrive and even find greatest satisfaction in how well you manage. Poorish means you only have 4 character building tokens described in the step 7 later in this chapter. Peculiarity does increase 1 stat, but which one you choose implies something different. +1 to intrepidity, or +1 to sense. You know how to plan things, you know how to budget. Good at budgeting. And, yeah, you know how you find all sorts of little tricks to stretch stuff that involve being bold, such as stealing ketchup packets and keeping them, and being very casual about that. Let's see. So that's that one. Then there's is dramatic. Mirth and tears, tragedy and comedy, better to express the drama. +1 to pother. It's just drama queen. Is house proud. You love your home and share it with your friends. You may be sacred quest to find coal scuttle shaped like an acorn. Is money that one has at hands. Ready cash, in fact. Yeah, so I believe the term readies is sort of liquid assets, I believe is the term in modern parlance. I gotta be very careful about time because I have a day job as well. But yes, you have a +1 to charm or a +1 to sense. If you have a very nice home house. Loyal and true. Support your friends no matter what. Increases 1 stat. Let's see. +1 to charm or +1 to intrepidity. You can do it. You're ready to throw hands for a friend, or everyone loves you. Let's see. New to the neighborhood. Come somewhere else. The hills, the forest town, or a location even more distant. You feel welcome here, but maybe years before folks consider you a local. As a portmanteau peculiarity, it has some kind of -1 to charm. But +2 to intrepidity. It takes a stout heart to move to a new place and meet new people. And poorish we went through. And then you have is susceptible to tender emotions. It's not just love and friendship that affects you profoundly. There are also beauty, kindness, and all the virtues. You fall easily in love. You stop dead in your path to watch a mother sparrow feeding her young. Your friends most likely express affection spontaneously. Portmanteau, let's see, it's +1 to charm, and a +1 to pother, because you can get overwhelmed with your emotions and cause trouble that way. And a -1 to sense, because you are an artist and you just love. Peculiarity take a point of poetry when faced with moments of outstanding natural beauty. Knows everything. Well, maybe not everything, but you do know rather a lot of things that, in your opinion, would make lives of others better. You enjoy imparting this knowledge. For example, wouldn't your friends appreciate knowing that silphium was a kitchen herb so delicious the ancient Romans ate it to extinction? Knows everything incredibly increases only 1 stat, which one you choose. So it's either no. Yes, it's +1 to pother or +1 to sense. It's either your know-it-all or you actually, depends on whether you're annoying about it or not, I suppose. Likes being alone is +1 to charm, because when you're around others, you have to put on a mask, essentially. +1 to intrepidity, comfortable in solitary adventures, or +1 to sense, rely on your own common sense. Perfectly happy on your own, as much as you love your friends and family. Characters with this peculiarity take a point of animality when faced with large groups. Loves company. The more the merrier. It's a +1 bonus to charm. Gregarious and companionship. And you get a point of poetry when faced with large crowds. Loves the land. You love nature. Quiet beauty of meadow and dawn, flaunting glory of an autumn sunset. You spend as much time possible outdoors, even in the winter. You were outside watching the first frost tips the leaves and ice sheathe the river. This love focuses on the river and its charming landscape around it. Extend to other parts of the country and even the world. And it's either +1 bonus to intrepidity, or +1 to sense, as careful steward of the land. Makes and mends. Tool in your paw. You can construct bookcases, clean out motor car carburetors, and make wood shavings, roses, and plant parsnips. Rather patch a shawl with a perfectly invisible darn than buy a new one. Making meds only increases 1 stat. +1 to intrepidity. Courageous. about activities like digging a new cellar without help or repairing a roof on a rainy day. Or +1 to pother. Sometimes the best repair in the world isn't enough, and when you thought was a functional wheelbarrow, it is loose a wheel. Or +1 bonus to sense. Practicality. Natters on. That would be me. I got that one. And do go on a bit, there's always so much worth saying, and somebody suddenly realizes equally interesting halfway through a sentence, and then forget where we were, and oh, look, violets. Love violets, don't you? Portmanteau peculiarity. So it's a -1 to charm, but a +2 to sense. Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is a little much for people. Get a +2 to sense. Overcomplicates things. Everything is more complicated than most admits. You can't help but consider all angles. Maybe invent some. Overcomplicates things, increasing one stat. So you get a plus bonus to charm, because you have a lot of long conversations about kind of nitty gritty details, and you get to interesting conversations. Or intrepidity. Over prepare and add unnecessary stages to tasks. +1 to pother. Think you fake being sick to avoid the visit to Great Aunt Sophronia, except that everyone knows you aren't sick, so then you also fake madness. Then your concerned friends ask to send you a specialist from town. Anyway, you take perfectly simple thing and turn it into a string of troubles. Or +1 bonus to sense. Always make a list before you start a new enterprise, which includes possible complications, and therefore know what you're doing. Pursues the higher self. Deeper, wiser animal. Part of this involves improving yourself, so you may take correspondent course in shorthand or begin an ambitious scheme to read all the great works of literature. Not recognize that your best self requires more than worldly accomplishments, so you keep a philosophical diary. Or perhaps communicate with a friend engaged in the same great work. So it's +1 to intrepidity, -1 to pother, and a +1 to sense. So you're bolder and you're more sensible, but you don't get into as much trouble because you're trying to make yourself. So then you get to do. Now that you've determined your preliminary stats by the sort of animals, and then adjusted according to peculiarities, 4 points to apply to your own stats, however you like. Spread them out evenly, 1 point per stat. You can try to make your stat as equal as possible. You can embrace the way of madness and pour all 4 points in a single stat. Nothing, unlike most role-playing games where you want... Okay, let's see. How that... when you want to perform a deed in RiverBank, the stat you use is selected randomly. You can combine your preliminary stat scores, peculiarities, and elective points to emphasize any one stat or no stat, but only the dice will determine whether having, for instance, a high sense that helps in any specific deed. Odds are 1 in 4 the deed will require any given stat. If you have skipped ahead to Chapter 2, you will have learned about summoning pother, using your pother stat instead, whichever stat you rolled randomly to up to deed. Having a high pother stat might seem like a good plan. How surely you think, in your innocence, if my pother is high enough, I am practically guaranteed success. But alas, even loveliest roses has a family of slugs. When you summon pother, you trigger a side effect, and some of them are awful. Dear in the next chapter. For now, do as you will with your stats. Decide how to spread elective points based on more implications for role-playing than any mechanical considerations. So stats are basically 90% role-play, and pother's the only one. Yes, okay, so stats are 90% role-play, and high pother stat is, do you want trouble? Do you want to have complications in your game? And if you want complications in your game, you have high pother. But yeah, it seems like stats are 90% role-play. Then you have knacks. Animals not as dexterous as humans, but they perfectly civilized, thank you, and they can do many of the things humans can and please do. Yes. So, knacks are just, game masters. Alright. Bake bread, brush their teeth, conduct ordinary business, converse with animals and humans. So yeah, you basically have a few little everyday skills. I would say, like, knowing how to sew, or, being good at making cocktails, or always fashionable, or walking in high heels could be a knack. Stuff like that, it seems. Yes. Okay, that's the... Yes, fill and carry a small pail, fry bangers and mash, kindle fires, make salad, make a stew, open and carry an umbrella, open and close doors, paddle a bit and pond a river, purchase things, read a book, run away from wasps, sew a button back in place, sing, hum, or whistle, take underground in town, understands train timetables, use buttons and tie shoelaces, use money correctly. There's a sidebar in Chapter 4, because this is before the pound sterling and the 10 decimal places. Wash, dust themselves or others, write a mail letter. Endure. Let's see. Most animals can endure privation without the same levels of anxiety and misery a human might feel. An overly dramatic animal might accidentally suffering one has ever suffered before, but no, it's probably not true. Hide. Most animals don't need to think about how to hide. Orient themselves, read maps. Smell things. A better sense of smell than humans. Interpret what they smell more effectively. Knacks are equivalent skills or abilities in other role-playing games. When you create characters, select 4 knacks. How deeds and knacks work is discussed later, but for now, think of it this way. When you perform a deed, the challenge number you generate to attempt is modified by your appropriate knacks. The Game Master has final say on whether a knack is suited to the deed being attempted. Use each knack over and over again, but only once per haphazard recycle, which is the timer. So you can only use your knack once per every timer cycle. Interesting. 30 minutes, measured by the Game Master's timer, and ends when the timer goes off. You'll learn more about this under Plot Thickens next chapter. Just know that any knacks used in a cycle get reset. Okay, so it's like once a day abilities, but they're reset 30 minutes real time, which is interesting. Oh, so let's see. They have a whole list of knacks. Yes, so you can talk, roll. Ooh, there's some fun ones. Um, 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 yes. They had to use fountain pens, but good in the kitchen, good with motors, good with real boats, motorized boats, good with a needle, good works. Alright, interesting. So they have good ones. Yes, so now you have to roll a d10 and... Oh, dang. Okay, let me just... Artistically inclined. Anytime you start in a deed, you can use the points from the AMP range or not. Roll d6. Move 1 point toward poetry. In addition, you take 1 point of poetry. Okay, so aesthetically inclined, you might take extra points toward poetry. Fascinating to ordinary animals. For some reason, ordinary animals find you fascinating, causing them to forget even reasonable amounts of caution in your presence. You find them yourself embarrassed and occasionally inconvenienced by farm animals, wild creatures, human pets such as dogs and cats, animal pets such as butterflies and millipedes. When you perform a deed near an ordinary animal or pet, Game Master rolls a d6, and they, on a 1, they interfere. Whenever you get interference. Whether you gain, let's see, gawky. Whenever you enter a given interior space, roll a d6. 2, you fall down. 1, you fall down. 2, you merely stumble against something. 3 to 6 have no effect. So you're clumsy. Let's see. What do you got? Inclined to growl. Anytime you succeed at the deed, whether you used points, you roll 1, and if you roll a 1, you have to move to an animality. Inertia. Naturally rather indolent on any deed. Requiring moderate or greater physical activity as determined by the GM. Roll a 6. And if you get a 1, you get a penalty. Nettlesome. When you perform a deed involving a non-roll, an NPC, roll a d6 on a 1 that becomes one level more antagonistic. This does not affect dire foes. So if they're already at their tie, or appalling relatives. So, let's see. Rattled. D10 or select, roll d10 or select a creature from, or item from the list that follows. Well aware of the creature or item in your proximity, let's see. Well aware, okay, so basically a little bit of mild fear of things. Regrettable resemblance. When you meet any appalling relative, even if they're not your own, you immediately remind them of someone they immensely dislike. Yes, after this encounter for the rest of a haphazard recycle, they take your company minus 1 point for dealing with them. Swooning. Faint at inopportune times when attempting a deed with target number of 11 or higher. Roll a d1. On a d1 you faint. On a 1 you faint, someone else will bring you back to consciousness within a few minutes, but the deed has failed and you must try again if possible. Let's see. Wrong place at the wrong time. Anytime you get involved in a group deed with more than 2 other characters, roll a d6. On a 1 to 2, you're not where you're supposed to be, which raises the deed's target number 1, making things more difficult for everyone. Interesting. And then the d10 of your mild fear. And then you have entanglements. Okay. I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I have a day job that I have to get to. Like, I really have to leave in the next minute or two. I stayed a little too long as it was, but you guys, this is so cool. Okay, thank you for hanging out with me and listening to the character creation talk and the mechanics and just going over how cool this is. It sounds like a really fun game. Thank you to Jen and All on the Table for hosting me. I'm LHawk99. And All on the Table, you should come to other... We're going to start streaming games soon. We're getting back under our feet under with streaming. And thank you all for coming. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Hydrate. All that jazz. I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much.